Hello, everyone. Welcome to A Fistful of Dice. My name is Matt, and you're watching Session 3 of NOMAD, a Harbinger Campaign. This session is entitled Mutiny. I'm going to go ahead and do a quick recap of the last session because it has been a while. I'm going to let these guys introduce their characters because, again, it has been a while, and then we're going to roll right into the action. If at any point during this game you think you might want to check out Harbinger and see what it's all about, there are links in the description to a website with a bunch of lore about the Harbinger universe. There's a sign up for the free playtest, totally free, 5th edition compatible sci-fi rules. And there's also a link to an awesome Spotify playlist with a bunch of music that you can listen to during the game that will help immerse you in the world. So last time on Nomad, the crew of the voidship Nomad, along with Masahiro Inuwa and a seedling that they had recovered from a band of scrugs, docked with the Last Breath, a massive flagship of the Inuwa migrant fleet. Once they got aboard, they had to surrender their pulsar weapons to the guards, and they met with a guy named Kaito, as well as Lady Anwen Inuwa herself, who is the matriarch of Sept Inuwa. They proceeded to negotiate with Lady Anwen and Kaito and managed to secure repairs to their ship, armor/engine upgrades for the ship, 2,500 glint to split amongst themselves, room and board on the Last Breath while their ship was being repaired. They were also promised additional work in the future and clearance to dock on the Last Breath whenever they need to. So lots of goods and favors being exchanged for this tiny little seedling. It's very important to Sept Inuwa. Lady Anwen, during the negotiations, also mentioned that their chief mechanist, somebody who is proficient with necrotech, is no longer in their service. Kai and Kurash then met with Oskana, a young moonborn merchant hailing from the moon of Ozen. She sold them a war blade with the barrow blade mod, which essentially allows Kurash to absorb the souls of the things that he kills and use them to replenish himself, as well as some miasma, which is a space drug. It's space heroin, and that was a lot of fun. Kurash also noticed that the war blade itself was inscribed with some strange runes that he couldn't read. Meanwhile, Randall, Ansel, and Briar went into the cave, which was a tavern set up in the cargo hold of this flagship, which is populated by a bunch of refugees from the moon of Valoran. There, they met with a massive forgeborn named Muzzle, who is sort of the leader of some sort of crime gang here on the Last Breath. They went to him about potential work because they had heard that he was the guy to talk to. And he mentioned to them that a barrowmech aboard the Last Breath had stolen a crate of explosives and pulsar weapons and killed a few of his enforcers, which was not normal for barrowmechs to do. They didn't sort of solidify anything, but Muzzle sort of insinuated like, hey, if you do this thing for me, if you look into it for me, there might be some more work down the line. Ansel also bought a grapple caster from Oskana as well, but has not attached it to a weapon yet. The Nomad crew then discussed with both Masahiro and Oskana about the necrotech module that they had yanked out of the neck of the scrug that had boarded the Nomad. It was this strange sort of wooden module that was attached to the scrug's spine and had this blinking green light on it. They found out that it was indeed made of skybreach wood, the same wood used by Sept for Lauren and their ships and weapons, that it had aurichalcum cabling and was channeling yellow Astra as a way to alter or control the mind of the creature that it was implanted into. Then the party split once more. Kai and Ansel met with Oskana once again and went through Kai's enumerations to better focus on the necrotech implant. They journeyed across the stars in their astral forms and witnessed a blind woman orbited by skybreach spheroids wearing a skull-esque sort of half mask. She was implanting a scrug with the necrotech and appeared to be aware of the presence of both Kai and Ansel, which was something that neither of them had experienced before. Meanwhile, Breyer, Randall, and Kurash went to the secondary cargo hold to investigate the missing explosives and pulsar weapons that Muzzle told them about. They encountered a rogue barrowmech who told them to leave and found an altar of like trinkets and memories. There was a graffiti on the walls that read things like, "We are not property, we have memories, remember," things like that. As Ansel left Kai and went on his way to the secondary cargo hold to find the others, an explosion rocked the last breath as the barrowmechs aboard rebelled against their owners. And that is where we left off last session. I'm going to kick it over to these guys to introduce their characters and maybe talk a little bit about what their mindset is going into this session as an explosion has gone off aboard the last breath. We're going to go from my left to right and start with James.
So my character is Breyer Shand, based solely on this overlay that I made 7 months ago, or however long it was. Breyer, without his weapon and hearing the, things that he had never heard about barrowmechs, is quite surprised. He's very curious as a mechanist, what might make a barrowmech rebel or do these things. He does find that very interesting, but he doesn't love kind of being in the middle of it. We followed a barrowmech in here, right? Sort of, like there was one that kind of went in and we were looking for him.
Yeah, there was when you were in the secondary cargo hold, you sort of heard a barrowmech moving around in the darkness and you encountered it and it seemed to be hostile towards you. But I can't remember who exactly it was. It may have been Randall managed to sort of talk it down from attacking you guys and it sort of moved on about its way, but it was definitely behaving strangely.
Okay, great. Yeah. So yeah, Breyer is definitely curious, but especially with the explosion and knowing, like you said, that we have no weapons, that our ship is, docked somewhere else, he's not really super excited about all of this.
Definitely not. All right, Jeff, go ahead, man.
Hello, yep, I'm Jeff. I'm playing Ansel Mayfield. He is a Mancer from a, I think still yet not officially named, real shithole of a moon. Just a terrible, terrible place that we used using the Harbinger moon generator. And he is a Mancer that specializes in yellow Astra, manipulating things almost psychically. And I guess mindset-wise at this point is mostly for him confusion. Like he's just gone through this situation where he's like done this weird like mind elevation ritual with Kai. Mancer Astra stuff that he's not used to doing. That's not really his style of Mancery. So he was already kind of off kilter from that, and then suddenly, boom, an explosion hits. So confusion and concern mostly, but he's kind of flipping into survival mode now. Kind of going back to where he used to be, trying to just fight for life and see what happens.
Awesome. All right, Barker.
Hey everybody, my name is Barker, and I'm playing Kurash, who is a Forge-born and property of Kai, who is sadly not with us today. The player's not with us today, but the character definitely will be. And he's a character trying to discover the world around him and who he is himself. And I'm really excited to get started. I feel like this game is, as we've been talking about in the chat, has been something that it's been too long since we've played. And it feels like we've played a million sessions and just one at the same time. It's very strange. So I'm really excited to get going, and let's do it.
Yeah, I think we were all a little surprised by just the amount of stuff that happened in session 2. And we all sort of realized it's because there wasn't any combats. It was literally just exploring, interacting with NPCs, shopping. There was a lot of shopping that went on. So yeah,
it was some pretty intense shopping.
It was some pretty intense shopping. There was a lot of haggling going on for sure. There were some sales that we had to get to. All right, Tim, go ahead.
Hey, I'm Tim. I am playing Randall Pierce, and I love figuring out characters, and so with this much time in between, there's that weird kind of like I feel like I know the character better, even though we didn't play it, and so I feel like as Randall Pierce, I am the fish out of water on this crew. I am not used to this sort of, I guess you'd say, this roguish life. I am a weather analyst and a barrowmech specialist. I am a mechanist, and I have been pulled out of my element. And so I'm starting to feel like I don't really have any value on the crew until I'm realizing that maybe there's a facet of the crew that isn't fulfilled. And so I'm starting to use sort of my my station and maybe even my reserve nature and the way that I can talk to people as a weapon. And so that's what I did with the barrowmech that we were facing off against. We didn't fight it. We didn't try to shut it down. We used mechanist savvy to sort of work the system and almost hack it verbally. And so that is, I think, Randall's sort of, he's figuring out his place on the crew. Right now, I was just next to that shrine. And as someone who works on barrowmechs and as someone who understands these things and what they do, it raises a lot of questions with me. I'm very confused. And as the explosion sort of rocks everything, I think I'm at a loss for words.
Absolutely. Awesome, guys. Thank you. And yeah, I just want to mention really quick. Yeah, Lloyd is sitting this game out. He had a work commitment that came up out of nowhere, but he will be back next session. And we'll have to figure out what Kai will get up to while the rest of these guys are trying to survive aboard the flagship. The explosion fades after rocking this ship and knocking a few of you to your feet, or to off your feet. A klaxon begins sounding. The lights aboard the Last Breath dim into a blood red hazard light. And as you're regaining your footing, regaining your senses, trying to make sense of what's going on, you feel yourself become weightless. There's a tangible thrum throughout the ship, a shudder through the bones of this thing, as the Astra generators creating gravity aboard this ship shut off. We are in a low grav environment. Ansel, you're on your own right now. You were sort of moving briskly down a hallway looking for the rest of the crew of the Nomad when this explosion happened. You were knocked to the ground, and now you find yourself floating a few inches off the ground as your inertia begins carrying you upwards. What are you doing as this happens?
And so I imagine he was like making his way just like towards his comrades, his new allies, just to see what they were up to, and then suddenly this explosion just rocks. The lights change. There'll just be that like panic instinct of like, wait, what's happening? As he tries to like look around. And suddenly he feels himself like rising off the ground, and that like wave of like confusion and then understanding hits him, just like, oh shit, this is not good. He's going to be like looking around to see like how far he is from the walls, because he's not very good in the air, as it turns out. He's just going to try to like get a sense of his environment, what's around, is whatever causing this threat nearby. Can he see even where his comrades have headed off to? Just trying to get a sense of where he is.
Definitely. So the hallway you're in is not super wide, and you're close enough to the floor now where you can actually sort of grab onto the grating of the floor and pull yourself closer to the wall, so you at least have something to sort of steady yourself against and try to make, you know, heads or tails of this situation. The klaxon continues. And if you sort of move down the hallway looking for something, anything, you see that the hallway sort of branches off at a certain point with several sort of placards directing you to where to go. And you see one of the placards directing you to the left that says secondary cargo hold, which you know is where the rest of your party was going. There are several other paths you can go down as well, but they're all leading to different areas.
Yeah, I think in a state of emergency, numbers are the top priority. He doesn't want to be caught alone if something terrible is happening. He's going to begin like using the wall and the ground as kind of like a triangle anchor point to like drag himself along, trying to stick as close to the to the sides as he can to make sure that he has at least some semblance of mobility, however hampered it is by the low gravity.
Definitely. And it does take you a while to get used to this. And you probably been in low grav situations before, but it always takes you a few minutes to sort of, get accustomed to it. And so eventually you find a rhythm and you begin moving at roughly about half your normal speed due to the low grav. And you sort of round this corner and start heading towards the secondary cargo hold. And as you come around the corner, you see that there are crates sort of set on the floor. And there are sort of webbing, almost like nets thrown over these crates to keep them on the floor in case a low grav situation happens. So they're sort of bolted to the floor, stuck there. But you see in the midst of these crates, there is a humanoid form, a metal form. It's a barrowmech standing there in the darkness, this blood red light sort of glinting off of the dull, scuffed metal and the breechwood parts of its frame, and you see that it's stuck to the floor. It's firmly rooted on the floor with some sort of maglock or grav boot situation. And as you come around the corner, it instantly sort of like turns to you and it raises its hand, and you see that in its hand it is holding a pulsar. We're going to cut now to the other three members of the Nomad crew. You three in the secondary cargo hold, you're all sort of congregating around this shrine that you've discovered. And if I remember correctly, Randall, you were sort of saying, we need to leave, we need to go right now. And as you were saying that, the explosion went off. And so you're still sort of screaming into the whisper link as you begin sort of lifting up off the floor, and the lights turn blood red here in this secondary cargo hold. Now, your whisper links are still working and you're able to communicate with each other for now. If you want to try and get a hold of either Ansel or Kai.
And I would. Scrambling, panicking, almost forgetting that I'm live on the frequency. We need to leave. We need to go now. We need to go. We need to go. And then, what in the world? What the? Hey, no, what? And I sort of just begin to panic. And then my training sort of kicks in, but it's very corporate. It's not the kind of training you'd receive in any sort of the Sept. It's more of the training that you'd receive from a corporate, like whisper link transmission, like, it's a Glancer training video. And so I'm sort of like, I start repeating those things in my head. I'm like,
so you're in a low grav situation.
Exactly. And I'm trying to think, I'm like, and there's like a stupid stop, drop, and roll thing, something with it where it's like, grab the net, it's the safest bet. Grab the net is the safest bet. Like that sort of thing. And so I'm like, the net, the grab. And so I'm immediately sprawling. And it's like someone who's drowning and then they stand up. Because the low grab just sort of, and I'm acting like I'm in the depths of space. I immediately freak out. And so I'm like, and I very calmly, like, I easily get to the net and I sort of grab on as though I'm being sucked out of the airlock. But it's just silence, except for the klaxons. And so over the klaxons, there's an eerie sort of stillness. And I do call out to them, and I'm sure they probably heard the whole thing. And so I don't know what Briar would say in response to all that. From my live whisper link, I'm saying this stuff.
So I think Briar wouldn't even consider, what he's saying or all those things you said, that your training was very corporate and that that you're panicking, because he's worrying as well. He's heard all of that. He heard the explosion, of course, the klaxons. He is in fight or flight mode, and he's making sure that he grabs a net and gets his bearings and everything. And so most of what your character says kind of goes in one ear out the other, because he's going through his own training of, okay, get your bearings, make sure, figure out, you know, is the hull breached? Are we losing oxygen? Stuff like that, kind of going through his own steps. And then, you know, would probably try to grab onto something as well, just get near something, because he knows that in low gravity, if you get stuck kind of out in the open without any inertia, you're screwed. So he would kind of not even acknowledge what's going on over the whisper link, because he'd be, you know, in his own head, okay, what do? You know, calm down, taking some breaths, you know, breathing in, holding, breathing out kind of thing, and just trying to do his whole deal himself. And then he would kind of look around and see if everybody's doing the same, you know, seeing that you're grabbing, you know, the net and everything, and just kind of getting a gauge of the situation.
Kudash is heading towards the ceiling right now, thinking of wondering where Kai is, wondering where the other Mancer is, seeing the bright white pure light head towards the exit that Randall was holding. No, it was his device, some sort of device that was leading the way outward, and he sees that, and it's like a beacon to his mind. He needs to head towards that, but he's going too high. He reaches outward. I don't think the net is nearby. Is there something else that I might try to grab onto but maybe fail at?
So they're like up near the ceiling, there are actually like roots that are sort of dangling down from the breachwood of this ship. And so there are sort of like these gnarled branches and roots hanging down from the ceiling you could potentially grab onto.
Kudash grabs or attempts to grab onto one of those roots. I don't know how fast I'm moving, but 19. He grabs onto maybe a root perhaps, and he begins kind of laddering his way 1, 2 over in the direction of his fellows underneath him until he can maybe get to a position. He's going to try to get above them and drop down, like flip upside down, push off of his feet off the ceiling, down down at his companions. And he, just attempt to land where they are and grab onto the net that they're kind of using as an anchor.
Yeah, absolutely. And with that 19 that you rolled, you can totally do that. And it's slow going, but you have enough strength in your body, and you're probably not necessarily accustomed to low grav, but there's maybe something sort of latent in your mind, Kudash, that sort of switches on that you're not even aware of where it comes from or what sort of training it is, but you just instinctively sort of know, I need to grab onto something and push off of it to get back down.
Yeah, oh, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, in that same vein of following my instinct, this thought crosses my mind: I'm going to need a cigarette after this. But he knows that's not his. He knows that's Kai. That's just something he learned by watching, and so he just ponders that, misses his master, and is happy to be with his companions.
So Kudash starts sort of flying towards the floor again, and Briar and Randall, you guys are near enough each other, and you see that's your spheroid, Randall, didn't even really react to the gravity turning off. It doesn't obey gravity anyway, and it's still flying towards the exit of the cargo hold, sort of showing you guys where to go.
And so I would just so in relation to each other, are there any sort of crates and things in between? Like, how large is this cargo hold, and where do you imagine us being in it relation to each other?
I mean, it's like, it sort of looks like the warehouse at the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark. Like, it's just piles and piles and piles of crates all over the place, and they're all secured to the deck with this sort of webbing and netting and stuff. And so you can just grab on and pull yourself along these rows of crates in order to get to the end of this sort of alleyway, for lack of a better phrase.
Perfect. Yeah, and I do so. And similar to what kind of Jeff was saying, I think that I would be trained to go for an exit in an emergency. Like, get out is the plan. I'm not a fighter, So I would do that, and through the whisper link, I would call out, "Hey guys, we got to get out of here. Come on." And I would start pulling along the nets. And I imagine that it would be something I'm not used to doing. So it's not like climbing a ladder. I can't quite get the pace, and as I pull, I'm sort of going a little too fast and I'm bumping into things and so on very clumsily. And am I able to sort of make it to any sort of exit or opening?
Yeah, you guys can totally make it to the exit. It's slow going, like I said with Jeff's character. You're not accustomed to this. Well, actually, is the only Voidborn is Kai, right? Of course.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Perfect. So she's just like whatever, and you guys are just So you manage. Go ahead.
I am a Voidborn. Sorry, I'm just getting to know this guy. Yeah.
I was gonna say I thought there was another Voidborn in the party, but I wasn't sure. So yeah, you actually move at normal speed, Briar. You seem like very comfortable in low grav. So you all make it to the exit. Briar makes it there first, like easily, way ahead of you guys. And as you do make it to the exit, you sort of round the corner and you see that there's a barrowmech with its back turned to you, and it's sort of in motion, revolving. And you see on the other side of this barrowmech, you see Ansel, and he's sort of coming around the corner at the same time. And he has this like surprised look on his face as he sees the barrowmech and then sees you guys coming from the other side. I need everyone to please roll initiative.
Yes, sir.
This is what it sounds like in a low gravity environment.
Okay. Got my initiative here. So the barrowmech actually goes first here. I also rolled a nat 20. And it is going to, it sort of is spinning towards Ansel, and it's going to take a shot with this pulsar weapon. Man, I'm rolling really well with my first two rolls here. So that definitely hits. There's this blinding flash as this pulsar weapon goes off. It's just a sort of a pistol situation. And it comes towards you, Ansel, and strikes you. And you're going to take 6 force damage from that. And it sort of like pushes you backwards as it slams into you. Okay. Briar, you're up.
So we gave up our pulsar weapons. You kept saying that so specifically. I also have a hand axe. Do I still have a hand axe? Or we give up all weapons?
Yeah, so you just gave up your pulsars because there's such a danger of the pulsars blowing a hole in the side of the ship.
Okay, great. Yeah.
Yeah, but you're able to keep your melee weapons for sure.
Oh boy. Okay. Well, I need to look up what an Astra Bolt does because I have one of those. Oh, I can cast it. Okay, so my hand axe has a. I think I got some sort of cool thing.
you put a mod on there. I think in session 1 that allowed you to cast a cantrip, and you're able to cast Astra Bolt with it. You're like, jokes on you, guards! I can
blow holes in. I can blow holes in this hull all I want. But I do think, knowing that I could blow holes in the hull, this is going to sound stupid. Is that like a major concern? Like I maybe shouldn't shoot at this guy?
You're probably not super concerned with it since you're already in a low grav situation, and conceivably there's already a hole blown in the side of the ship from the explosion that you heard.
Oh, okay.
So you're probably a little bit less concerned with that at this moment.
It's like the law of diminishing returns of hull breaches.
Yeah, you're like, well, it's already got a hole in the side of it, so.
But Astra Bolt,
there's already a tear in these jeans. I may as well make them into shorts.
There, yeah. These are work jeans now. Get paint on them. So in that case, I am gonna Astra Bolt this thing because that does a 1d8. And I don't remember exactly how it works, but I imagine because it's Astra Fade 0, it's a cantrip, that I can just do that.
You can just do it.
It's a ranged spell attack, so I'm gonna do that. So I'm sorry, you wrote this game. So I would usually, of course, use my strength attack, but in this case, it would be dexterity because I'm Astra Bolting. Or
so the mod that you have.
Yeah, because I searched, but I didn't see the mod.
Manther module is what it's called.
Oh, okay. Oh, because it's not. I gotcha.
Yeah. So your charisma is the spellcasting modifier for it. So you're
Okay,
going to
so
be
not
using
bad.
your charisma with your proficiency.
Okay, perfect. So I don't think I hit. I got an 11 total. So I've got my hand axe. I've got this special kind of gun on it, basically an Astra gun, and knowing that I might have a difficult time getting over to this thing, and kind of wanting to get that first strike out, I fire this Astra bolt at it. But I'm assuming that 11 doesn't hit.
No, it sort of strikes it, but you see it just kind of splash uselessly against its armor. It's a very like well armored, well outfitted looking barrowmech. It almost looks like it's maybe some sort of like guard barrowmech, like specifically designed to sort of guard things. So the Astra just sort of splashes against it and leaves a bit of a scorch mark, but no visible damage.
And his confidence would probably fade. He'd look very confident. He'd go. We'd see the barrowmech. He'd shoot an Ansel. I'd shoot him with the bolt. It would kind of glance off, and Briar's face would definitely fall. And then I'd probably just keep a distance and stay back.
Yeah, there are crates in the hallway if you wanted to like try and dive for cover.
I think that I would, because like you said, because I'm Voidborn, I don't I move at a normal speed, right? So I would go kind of try to take cover from this guard-looking barrowmech.
Yeah, you absolutely do. So you quickly move off to the side of the hallway and sort of grab the net and pull yourself close to these crates to give yourself cover. Kurosh, you're up.
Kurosh is still behind, in my mind, behind Randall. And so he's going to try to pull himself forward in front of Randall to strike this thing with his... I just have it called a rune blade. It's this massive sword covered in runes that not even he understands. And he's going to do so with an 11.
And make sure you guys are rolling at disadvantage with your attacks, except for James, since you're in low grav.
Still an 11.
Yep. So you sort of dart forward, swing with your sword, but maybe you aren't used to not having gravity weigh this sword down, and you just kind of swing wildly and sort of get yourself in a spin almost as you swing.
So I get myself in a spin, and then on my way back around, I'm going to use my action surge to strike this thing again.
Awesome. Very cool.
Because I got an action surge.
Action surge, baby.
Okay, so 13 plus... so 16, right? I have a +3 on that.
16 just hits. That's good.
Okay, cool. Sorry, I got to roll damage. Busy. I was just busy.
I was busy.
I was busy doing this.
Yeah.
That is okay. Well, that is 10 total points of damage.
Damn, son.
Right? Yeah. +3.
10 damage. Perfect.
Almost max on the die.
Yeah, so you actually do it doesn't fall, but you do quite a bit of damage to this thing. What does that look like as you come out of this spin and just sort of get a good hit in on this guy?
I imagine that it deflects my first shot and looks down at Randall and is almost like steadying, readying for the kill shot. And then the feet flip over, the sword comes down and slices into the shoulder of this thing, maybe down 10 inches or so.
Yeah, and as you do that, there are sparks, but there's also some sort of like fluid, like this like blue fluid that sort of squirts out of this seemingly non-organic creature that has some sort of fluid flowing through it.
Nice.
Ansel.
Yeah, so Ansel is just like, he's turned this corner, and then suddenly there's this huge barrowmech there, and then next thing he knows, he's been shot. And just that pure panic instinct reaction begins to take hold as the confusion is now just over the top. He's gonna reach down to grab his pistol, and then immediately the realization hits that he doesn't have his pistol. So he's just gonna desperately reach out towards the barrowmech and try something that he's tried before. It's never worked, but he's gonna try because he's desperate. And he's going to try to use his grav shift to pull the gun from this barrowmech's hand. But mechanically, this is a new spell that's just been added to him, to this edition, Astra Grasp. So this barrowmech is going to need to make a dexterity save. I think my save is at 13 right now.
13, okay, I'll do that roll. He fails.
Yes, so he's just puts his hands out. There's like this yellow flash on his hand and then on the gun that the barrowmech is holding. And the gun is just ripped from the barrowmech's hand and goes flying in towards Ansel's hand, and he just grabs the handle of it as it comes over to him, like points it back at the barrowmech, just like bewildered that this is happening, and then even more bewildered that this actually worked for once.
Awesome. Yeah, you yank it out of this thing's hand, and it does an end-over-end spin. You catch it, and the barrowmech doesn't have moving parts on its face, but there's almost a flash of surprise across its sort of like blue optics, and it's just sort of like looks down at its hand to see that the pulsar is now gone. So it had a light pistol that you now are holding. Anything else? Any movement on your turn there, Ansel?
He's gonna like start pulling himself a little bit closer, maintaining a distance from this thing. Probably get about 15 feet towards it if he can.
Cool. Yeah, can do.
And then on the net to get close but not too close.
Got it. All right, Randall, you're up.
I think I would be stunned, because I'm like, and over and I'm grabbing the net. I'm barely making it through. This guy comes flying around the corner like he's from the future and sucks the gun out of the barrowmech's hand. Like he's breakdancing. So and I think immediately I would sort of snap to seeing that happen. And I'm going to take because right now my spheroid that I have out was, I've got it set up specifically for healing. And so what I'm going to do is smash it into the barrowmech. I want to take the spheroid and basically kamikaze it into the thing. Just because as Ansel said, this is desperate. It's not time to save my spheroids.
Yeah, I'll let you kind of do like an improvised attack with that if you want.
Okay, so would it be standard improvised sort of like D4 situation or?
Yeah, so I guess if you're sort of just directing the spheroid to just crash into it, is that what you're basically doing?
Yeah, that's the idea.
Yeah, I'd let you use like your intelligence modifier for the attack roll if you want, since you're just directing it to do that.
Sure. All right, so that is let me go for 17.
17 definitely hits. Go ahead and give me a D4 plus your intelligence mod of damage.
Killer. Now, a spheroid has 2 hit points, so I'm not sure if that actually would explode like harmlessly after the damage, like, or
yeah, it would probably just shatter. Like it would hit him and just sort of like just break apart against him.
Oh, that's killer. First of all, 4 on the die, which is awesome. You said plus intelligence mod?
Yeah, plus your intelligence mod.
That's one of my highest. So that's a 7 damage.
Damn, son.
That's awesome.
So what does that look like? Because that's a pretty good amount of damage on this thing.
I think as his blue optics flash and they widen just for a moment as his gun spins out of his hand or its hand, I think it sort of looks to Ansel and it's like, zzz, and in that instant, from the side, just pure kamikaze, just like its optics turn just in time for the spheroid to hit its face and just, and maybe there's a sort of Ultron, beginning of Age of Ultron where that Iron Man mask is like melted with the acid. So it's like that barrowmech's face now is like twisted into like a grimace.
Yeah, definitely. And there's shards of your spheroid sort of sticking out of its sort of skull.
Yeah, dude. And my spheroids are triangular, so maybe there's even like a good chunk just.
I love that. Oh yeah, you have like pyramid spheroids.
Yeah,
cool. Awesome. Any movement on your turn or anything else?
No, I think probably just still grasping onto the net and trying to just not get shot.
Yeah. So the barrowmech has it sort of looks at its hand as the pulsar is ripped out of it. It's taking damage from all sides. It sort of turns to you, Kurash, being the closest and arguably the biggest target as well. And you see it's almost like bayonet, this like curved blade sort of fold out from the bottom of its arm, and it sort of rears back and slices at you with it.
No.
Oh, damn, man. That's awesome.
Wait.
So that definitely hits. That's a 19 on the die.
Yeah. That's awesome. I disagree.
So it's going to be 5 slashing damage from this like fold out blade that just you barely even see it. There's just a flash of steel, and then it's slicing up your torso.
That is no small number. Cool.
And the barrowmech sort of is still rooted in place, mag locked onto the floor, and it's just kind of its legs aren't even moving. Its torso is just moving in a 360-degree arc as it's sort of mag locked to the floor. Okay, we're back to Briar.
So I feel like there's no reason not to use this Astra Bolt over and over due to the fact that he doesn't feel comfortable getting in close combat with this thing.
Yep, and it's a cantrip, so.
Yeah, because it's I don't have the best modifier on it, but I think that he would definitely be keeping his distance, being feeling a bit naked without his short scattergun. So out from behind, holding onto these crates, he would kind of peek out and fire this Astra Bolt, this red Astra Bolt at this barrowmech. And this time I think he actually hits. So it's a 15 total.
Not quite good enough.
Oh, just so, yeah, I think again, it glances, he peeks out and he realizes maybe he's going to have to get closer, but he's really feeling the absence of that scattergun. He wishes he could just get right up in there and blow the thing away, but he also gets that maybe hull breaches aren't the best thing. So with that, he's probably going to stay behind this cover, hoping that everybody else can hold their own here.
Absolutely. All right, Kurash.
I like to think that Kurash is still spinning, and so he's going to come back around for another hit. But before he does, he actually has he focuses something out of his will, but definitely out of the technology that he wields in his grip. He will use his energy weapons ability to wreathe this blade in red Astra along the second strike, and I think that only works. That only helps with damage, so it only helps if I hit.
Yeah, just add some damage.
Cool. He's going to bring it down as in a stabbing motion. Got to roll twice because I'm at disadvantage. Okay, so 14 total. I think that misses.
14. Yeah, 14 does miss. Yeah.
Now action surge. I can use that again. Yeah. Can do that. I love this action.
Can you action surge your action surge?
Yeah, no. It wouldn't. Yeah, no, I'm good. And I miss. I'm still spinning in the ether.
Yeah, you're just kind of clumsily spinning around. Your sword, this rune blade is this glowing, this blood red, but you're not able to connect with this barrowmech. It's almost like the barrowmech is sort of like rotating itself to dodge your blows as you're sort of swinging clumsily in the low grav. It's just sort of like sort of rotating on its hips.
Realizing that I'm becoming kind of predictable, can I attempt to use my move action to jet back up towards the ceiling, towards the roots?
Yeah, I'll even let you sort of like kick off the barrowmech to get back up to the ceiling. Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. Done.
Ansel. Oh, I think Jeff might be locked up. Okay, we'll loop back around to Ansel. Randall.
So I think watching, I don't know that I've ever seen a Forgeborn that large. And so as I sort of, I pause and I look to see what Ansel is doing. Oh, sorry. So what I'm going to do is I think that watching that entire thing, this enormous creature being so huge, but still being so graceful. And as in this zero grab, as he kicks off this barrowmech, it's like watching a gladiator. And so having exploded my spheroid, I think the final thing that I would have is my arc tool. And so I think that would be, man, I just feel like I don't want to be a scrub, but I don't know that Randall would go flying into combat with no weapon after he blew up his spheroid. And so is there anything that I could do to maybe help my companions, maybe loose some cargo from the nets, or like use my arc tool to maybe create some cover for Ansel and things of that nature?
Yeah, you can release some crates. You can like use your arc tool to like create a shower of sparks in this thing's face to try and like blind its optics. Basically, you can use the help action to give Ansel advantage on his attack if you want to, or whatever you want to do.
Yeah. So that's actually exactly what I'll do. So I think what I would probably do is, I don't know that I would go in and be brave enough to like create the shower of sparks or do anything like that. But what I would probably do is take the arc tool and just sort of start searing the net. But what this also means is I sort of start to fly, a little bit backward like this. But I imagine some generic sort of like Doom UAC crates start like floating, like, into the way, and maybe even give us a little bit here and there to kind of like grab and like, start doing that number. But yeah, I'd like to use the help action to create some sort of cover and see if that would work. Yeah,
you definitely do. You sort of create like almost like a Ender's Game type situation where all these crates sort of create cover, and you can even sort of like maybe kick one to send it flying towards this barrowmech, and it can kind of sort of knock into the back of it, which would allow Ansel to have advantage on his whatever he decides to do on his turn here.
Perfect.
All right, good job, Randall. Okay, Ansel, looping back to you, man.
Alrighty, yeah. So he sees all these like flying up as Randall sends this these kind of free things. One of the barrow mechanisms like coming to him, he's going to like use a whole burst of yellow Astra to like bring it to him, so we can like use it as like a stabilizer to help his aim. Not used to the low grab, but at least having something to put his arm on helps him focus. He's gonna bring up the pistol he's taken from the barrel. It's like flash red. As he uses it as a focus to channel his Astra through, as he usually does, having a pistol back. More confidence with that. And there's going to be this red blast that's going to flow towards the barrowmech. And thanks to the advantage, which will cancel out disadvantage from the low grab, that is going to be a 19.
That definitely hits. Give me some damage.
All right, and this is really going to hurt. I used a boost to make it 2d8, and that is going to be 13 force damage as this searing red Astra flies from the pistol.
How much did you say? Sorry.
13.
13. Damn. All right, cool. All right, so we're back up at the top with the barrowmech. It's heavily damaged. It's one of its limbs is sort of hanging by these cables. There's blue sort of luminescent liquid sort of spurting out of these wounds. One eye is shattered from the spheroid slamming into its face, and it sort of like turns around and looks for a target. And the closest one it sees is Kurash, sort of as he's sort of kicked off of it. And you see it sort of, and it sort of disengages its mag lock and like floats up towards you, Kurash, sort of Supermaning up with this fold out blade, swinging it at you. Kurash's AC is 15, so that's a hit. It's going to be 4 slashing damage as he sort of catches you in the leg with this fold out blade. All right, that was the barrowmech. Briar, you're up.
So at the risk of sounding like a broken record, I'm gonna shoot him again with this Astra Bolt. I'm assuming I don't drop this die all over the place. And again, he certainly misses. He's realizing that maybe it's time to get close in, but he's got a 2. And yeah, no, it's just these game science dice are not treating him nice after being stuck in a bag for 6 months. Not that long, but for a while. And so another Astra Bolt. This one probably misses entirely. I imagine it maybe glances one of his compatriots, or just barely misses somebody, friendly, and he realizes that maybe next round he's going to have to get in the thick of it and use his better attack bonus. That's what he thinks.
He's like, man, this attack bonus sucks.
But for now, he stays behind the cover, hoping that everybody else can kind of tank this damage up.
Awesome. All right, so Kurash, you're up. This thing is just flying towards you. You feel the blade bite again into your flesh. What would you like to do?
I want to push in the opposite direction from the ceiling and go down towards it with my red inflamed blade, wreathed in Astra, striking again. I hate this disadvantage, but this time it actually works out a little bit. I get a 17.
That's a hit. Give me some damage.
Okay, all right, that's 3d8.
And if you roll more than 3,
yes.
If you roll more than 3, go ahead and describe how you kill this thing.
All right, well, that definitely happens. I rolled 14, and I am going to, oh God. Well, now that I'm on the spot, this is difficult. Okay, so what song is this? Sword of Truth. Hey, this is perfect. So you actually see that the red blade cuts through the I don't know, the sternum of this thing. You see that it's the runes glow hot on the blade, and this thing is what is it made of entirely?
The barrowmech?
Yeah, is it mostly metal? You said
so
blue
it's mostly
before.
Yeah, it's mostly metal, and it also has bits of it that are made out of wood because it's a Valoran barrowmech. And as you've cut into it, you see that it has some sort of, it's got this blue liquid that's sort of running through it, through these cables, almost like veins.
Hell yeah. So like the metal begins to glow hot, like Qui-Gon Jinn burning through the blast doors, and it just spreads and spreads and spreads. And then the wooden parts of this barrowmech just ignite in flame. And the whole thing is just writhing in flame. And I pass it, actually. I kind of like switch places with it, withdraw my sword. So I'm now going down towards the floor, but it's up by the roots. And I imagine if the roots are flammable, the ceiling just ignites on fire. If not, then it is stuck up there on fire on the ceiling. That's up to you.
Yeah, it sort of slams into the ceiling, just smoldering up there. The embers sort of spreading to the other roots. And you see it kind of struggling, like, and it sort of goes slack. And because of the low gravity, this luminescent blue liquid is just floating in the air. Just these droplets of this blue liquid just floating, splattering against things as this creature that is not alive, but also sort of is, just perishes.
And that does something to Kurash. Just in a brief moment, something happens to him regarding that.
And you can almost hear it. It's trying to say something as it dies. It's sort of like you hear it kind of fumbling for words, and then it's just static, and then it cuts out completely. The hallway goes quiet, save for that klaxon that just will not stop. With the blood red light sort of flashing on and on and off. And you guys barely have a moment before, over your whisper link, you hear Nomad crew, come in. Nomad crew, this is Sigma. Do you read?
Yes, we read. Copy.
Whisper link disconnected from the last breath. Whisper link off.
And catch me up. That's our Spectre, right?
Yeah, the Spectre aboard the Nomad.
So, okay, yeah. So the Nomad is calling out to us, letting us know that something's going on, and that's not good. We have an idea roughly of where are we in relation to where we docked? So
you're a few areas away from where you docked. The sort of antechamber that you came into was through the main cargo hold, off to the left, and down a few hallways.
So Briar would kind of turn to everybody and tell him, sounds like something's up to the Whisperlinks. We need to get back to the Nomad. And we gave somebody our weapons, right? Our weapons aren't on the Nomad. We handed them to
Yeah, they are. You actually remember exactly where they are. They're in that antechamber that you came into. After Kaito and the other guards took your weapons, they were stored in a room off to the right of the entrance chamber.
So then, yeah, for sure, he would say, so we've got to get to the weapons, and then we got to get on the Nomad, and I think it's time to get the hell out of here.
Yeah, whatever's going on here, I don't think I want to be a part of it. He's going to kind of reach down towards the Astra blasted hole in his side where he's been shot already. Rather not take any more souvenirs while I'm here.
And I guess I didn't consider it, but that's the thing I can help with. I think that Briar would pull out a support spheroid because you took damage, right?
Yes, the barrowmech hit me.
I wrote this down.
Me
yes.
too.
Yeah, Kurash is hurt pretty bad.
That's fine.
And I was going to say, let's see. I'm sorry, I'm remembering how to play this game. I've got some Astra Fades, limit of 2, that's great. And then each of these is 1. Basically, I want to heal both of them. Your spheroid heals a target within 10 feet of it. You have a shared pool of hit points equal to your mechanist level times 5. That's 2 now. So 10 hit points.
You have 10 hit points between the two of them, yeah.
That's not a bad amount for me if it's divided in half. It doesn't matter if you want to top off, actually, Jeff.
5 would get me just about topped, so.
Okay,
You top off, and then I'll take the rest. I got no problem with that. That's probably how it would work anyway, since you're closer.
Okay, yeah, so it would top you off, which would be 6, Jeff, or more?
6, yeah, is all it would take.
Okay, so 6 to Jeff and 4 to Barker, and that would, my Astra Fade would go up 1 for using that. And then Briar at that point would remember, saying, oh, we've got to get back. He'd realize, damn it, we've got to find Kai too. And with that would start heading that direction, I guess kind of down the hall opposite where we came from.
Would Kai be on our Whisperlink chain as well? Could we just hey, we need to leave message?
Yeah.
Or have we lost connection?
If you try to get on the Whisperlink, it's dead completely. There's some sort of jamming that's happening on the Astra frequencies that carry your voices across the Whisperlink channels. But Ansel, I will allow because you had a few moments before you met up with the rest of the party. If there was a message that you wanted to send to Kai before the Whisperlink cut out, I will allow you to be able to do that sort of retconning.
I'm not sure. I mean, he would have said that he was leaving to go with them, but I don't know that he could have known that this is what's happening. We probably would mention that, as the explosion started, that they were going to try to get to safety, but I don't know how much more I would be able to have gotten across.
Well, and he would have also heard probably what our Spectre said. So he would have at least known something.
Kai would have heard Sigma's message to you guys as well. Yeah, so she would be aware that there was some sort of Sigma mentioned disconnected from the last breath, which you don't know what that means, and that the Whisperlink was dead.
Yeah, so to some degree, hopefully we can expect that Kai will be there, but we're going to try and go find her and bring her, I think.
Yeah, so as far as you know, Kai is in the main cargo hold. She was last in the cave there, that sort of makeshift tavern in the main cargo hold. So you know how to get there. It's a fairly short walk or a fairly short float to get there.
Glide.
Yeah, just a little swim to get back to the main cargo hold. So if that's where you guys want to head, you can definitely do so. There's also, I wanted to point out to you, mechanists especially, that there are glancer terminals sort of at every sort of main junction on this ship that you can interface with if you want to get information about what's going on in the rest of the ship or try different mechanist-y things.
So yeah, for sure, I think Briar would go to I'm one of those. He would go to one of these glancer terminals and immediately try to.
Did you just say I'm one of those?
Yeah, I wanted to make sure that I was what you said.
I'm a mechanist, right?
This is like character sheet roulette. I'm like, okay, so my character has a very bad form of amnesia, Harbinger amnesia. He forgot how to do everything. Briar would go to a glancer, one of these things, and try to, I don't know if it requires hacking in or just typing, hey, what the heck's going on? And he would try to see, you know, what was happening.
Yeah, you can sort of interface with it using, you know, your glancer, your arc tool. You know, there's a cable you can pull out to interface with it. And I'll just need a tech check from you. Or, I'm sorry, an arc tool check.
And that, can you tell me what that would be? Because I don't have that written down. Which modifier that would be?
In this case, it would be your intelligence.
Okay, great. So that's a 19 total.
With proficiency.
Oh, with proficiency, so 21.
Awesome. So you very quickly access the information stored in the ship's sort of lorium reserves. You're able to call up whatever you need. So is there anything specifically that you're wanting to look up or find out or look into?
I would try and look for sort of the Whisperlink status. I don't know if that's a thing. Like you said, there's a disconnect from the Last Breath. Because the Last Breath is the ship we're on, the flagship.
Yeah. Yep.
Kind of look to see what that's about and to see if, I don't know, if there were like any, the comings and goings of ships currently, if anybody arrived, or if there's like a specific place maybe that the alarm went off when where this explosion came from.
Cool. So looking into the Whisperlink channels, you see that there is some sort of interference happening on the Astra frequencies, the Whisper frequencies. There's jamming completely, and it's actually having trouble, you know, connecting and even reading the Whisperlink frequencies. You're not sure exactly what could be doing that. There's like a number of things that could potentially do that. But it's hard to tell exactly what it is just from here. Looking into the comings and goings of ships, you're sort of like scrolling through and you see, okay, Nomad docked at this time and it was several hours prior. And then you see every ship that was docked with the Last Breath has a departure time, and it was like a minute ago.
And so Briar would tell everybody this and kind of explain that, you know, I think it would be very clear to them that none of this is very good. And so basically he would kind of double down. Hey, we need to get the hell out of here. And, you know, grab Kai on the way, grab our weapons and jump on the Nomad and just get the heck out of here. So I imagine we would do that. We would start making our way to the cargo hold, the main cargo hold area. I think that I would ask Barker's character to go first. Kurash, I think, right? And like to kind of take point, because I imagine there will be more barrowmechs between, but I'd be right behind him with my hand axe shooting Astra bolts that don't do anything.
I understand. I have the arms. He says something as he moves past you, but he actually says in a brief moment, "Thank you." And you know he's talking about your willingness to go find Kai before anything else, before leaving, before going anywhere else. This was the thing that worried him, and he's excited for that. So anyway, he takes point, absolutely, and heads in that direction.
Briar, I really don't remember much exactly from last time, but Briar would want to kind of send a sort of sentiment of reminding Kurash of the enumerations and kind of the calming and not to worry. Like, we're going to find her, no problem, and we're going to get out of here.
You do like the Hulk calming routine from the Avengers movies. It's okay, big guy.
I feel like
getting real low.
Astrofade's getting real high here, all right? And calm down.
And the routine is imperfect, and that imperfection is a comfort in its own, I think.
So, Kurash, you're sort of taking point. The rest of you are following. So, Briar sort of filled you all in on what's going on. Whisperlinks are dead. Apparently, every ship that was docked with the Last Breath has departed somehow. You're not sure what that means. But you head towards this main cargo hold. And as you move down the hallway, you see that the hallway, the doors, which on the Last Breath are essentially just roots that sort of grow together and then pull apart as people approach. This door is closed, and as you approach it, it does not open. It is staying closed firmly.
Kurash asks for help. He waves for help to open this door. Maybe we can somehow force it open manually.
Yeah, dude. Arc tool chainsaw.
Well, I was gonna say first I would look for if there's a glancer or any sort of console next to it or something that we could potentially interface with to try to get it to do its thing, and then you know, barring that, would start trying to cut it down with his hand axe.
There is a glancer station nearby that you can try to interact with an arc tool check.
Tim, I don't know what you got at level 2. Is it hacking root doors by chance, or?
It is. Actually, I'm working from this chair. I'm in 0.6. And
there's a whole root door subsystem in 0.6. It's
he leveled up. Awesome. He leveled up to level 2.6.
at least 2.6.
God.
No, but I just want to make sure you didn't get like some cool arc tool thing.
No, so unless this
pre-gen has it.
No. I actually no, I didn't get anything like that. But what we do have the ability to do is interact with specters and barrowmechs at a very high rate. So Matt, is there any way to? Yeah, that's the level 2 special.
Yeah, for some reason I thought you'd get something different. I'm a dummy.
No. You're thinking level 3 where we get our specializations. Yeah.
What's D&D anyway? Get out of here. I didn't write.
I only know that because I had to get that one thing out of level 2 and put it on my character sheet in a hot dash
memorize
finish line.
Yeah.
Well, my question is, Matt, is there so you have the Glancer terminal? Do the Inuwa Septs use specters that we would be familiar with? Is there a way to try to talk to the specter of the ship using what we're good at?
That's a good question. I would say that the specter is probably you'd probably have to dig a little bit to find them. With everything being shut down, the Whisperlink channels being shut down, the specters sort of operate on similar frequencies. So you'd have to dig a little bit.
Sure.
But you could definitely try and find the specter of this ship.
So I think, what if we do something? I don't know what it would look like mechanically, right? But that's your job. So what if Randall and Briar really start doing the, Miles Ben Dyson, like turn both keys at the same time to see the Terminator hand? Like we work together, specifically trying to dig and find this specter to try to get these roots to.
Yeah. So what I'll allow you to do is you can use your tech tuned ability. And if you're both doing it, you can have advantage on the check. Just choose which one of you is sort of heading up to make that check.
Killer. So that would be our charisma. And so, James, that's one of my higher abilities. So I'm pretty charismatic. I don't know. What about you?
No. Yeah, mine's not great. So you should definitely do it.
All right.
So you'll be able to add double your proficiency bonus because of tech attuned. And then because Briar is helping you, you can roll with advantage as well.
Love it. And so, Randall looks around for a second and he sort of embarrassingly pulls out this pair of old, very terrestrial looking glasses. And he sort of puts them on. And, I would imagine that we would sort of, try to plan. And from the time I've spent with the crew, I know Briar is better at he knows a lot of things, but I don't know what his skill level is at the fine level. And so I think we would just kind of talk it through. And I'd ask him, all right, we got to find this. We got to find this specter. I think we can do it. I think we can do it. If we can get in there. Inuwa. What plans did I work on with Inuwa? Not many. It was real secretive. What do you think? You think we can do it?
And Briar would say some sort of, one of these mechanist like sayings, like, give a man an arc tool and a glancer and we can do anything kind of thing. Kind of upping his confidence and saying, I'm sure the specter's in there somewhere. It's just buried beneath all this, all these alerts and stuff. But I think with a little work, you could coax it out of there, and we can maybe get a little better of an idea of what's going on.
Yeah, man. And I think that vote of confidence from Briar is not something that Randall has felt before. And so I think having that, it sort of probably for the first time, makes Randall feel like he is some sort of an equal. And without Kai around, Kai is one of the only people on the crew who has accepted Randall and sort of connected. And so that would sort of be like, oh, okay, this is, I can help here. I can do something. And so I would come up with, all right, hey, all right, here's what I need you to do. I need you to bypass and basically come up with some sort of, I need you to take care of the outer security system. I need you to take care of the things that would be blocking and covering up this glancer. I need to go in deep. I need to find the soul of this ship. You know, basically, can you do that for me?
And I wonder who that was.
I just picture the Spectre being like, "This is Daryl."
It's Daryl.
Hey,
It's like the IT guy answering his phone during a busy day. It's Daryl.
It's Daryl from The Office. Hey,
I was gonna say Matt's voice made it sound like it was the SCV from StarCraft.
the 5
Daryl, good to go.
5. This is Daryl.
Yeah. What is it? What does he say about overtime? Oh man, I wish. Oh, he says something about overtime.
He says.
I can't remember what he said. Those SCVs think that something good is going to happen, but they're just going to get sniped by some stupid Protoss ship. You know it's going to happen. But yes,
Those poor boys.
So yeah, you know, Briar would say yes, yeah, of course. You know, he's going to kind of keep this, I don't know, this security system busy. Going, you know, try just distracting the security system. Maybe it's another sort of Spectre, or the same idea without the sentience. It's something he has to keep distracted while you're kind of doing your thing.
Sure. And so I think what so Randall thinks of his brother Daryl, and specifically remembering that Daryl was always a better mechanist, architect. And so he would always tell him, he'd say, don't look at the way the circuits are laid out. Think of the mind of the person who programmed it. And so he'd go, right. Okay. All right. And so you did say advantage. Is that correct?
Yeah,
I sure did. Roll that beautiful beam
Oh,
footage.
yeah. Roll that beautiful beam footage. Yeah, because I'm cooking with a hot 3 over here as she stands right now. Okay, yeah. Yes, natural 19.
Awesome. Okay, cool.
Right.
And with double proficiency bonus, that's pretty
Double
great.
proficiency bonus. So for me, all right, Matt knows the rules, so I really have to look. So that's with double proficiency bonus, 24.
Awesome. So it takes a couple minutes to do this, but the two of you working together sort of hack into this glancer. Kurash and Ansel, is there anything you guys want to do in particular while the two mechanists are doing this?
If you don't mind, go ahead, Ansel. You go first.
I was just going to say, I think Ansel is going to kind of begin probing around some of these hallways as they're kind of making camp at this terminal. He's going to kind of make his way slowly up one of the paths, kind of try to take a look around, never getting too far before kind of turning back, going down another path, taking a look around, just to get a feel for what's happening, at least in their immediate area, so nothing kind of surprises them.
Okay, great. Yeah, you do so. You sort of check the perimeter. And it almost seems like this area of the ship is sort of deserted at this point. You do find a couple of bodies, two Inuwa guardsmen with their sort of forest green leather armor. Both of them were holding spears, which are now just floating in the air. And there's blood sort of droplets floating in the low gravity. It looks like they were both shot with pulsar weapons. But other than that, you don't find anything of note.
I'm gonna be that guy right now, and he's gonna like hold out two different hands. There's gonna be a yellow glint. He's just gonna pull the spears. They need everything that they can get right now. So he's gonna take both of the weapons and bring them back.
Yep, you grab both the spears. You got them. Kurash, what about you?
Kurash stands next to Randall and almost like awkwardly is staring at you, Randall. Like he doesn't really know how to initiate a conversation. And so when you finally look at him and you're like, what? You know, he says, Reaper Narrow. These words, you use them, you shut down the machines. He refers to the previous incident where you kind of used this code word to turn the barrowmech away a little bit before it kind of revolted against itself in the last session. And he says, you are one with the machines. You know how to manipulate them. How?
Randall absentmindedly clutches his arm for a moment. Same way that you dream. I just do it while I'm awake. I talk to them. I just know what they're thinking.
He looks at your arm and he thinks, those are wise words. I'm going to remember those. But he says, you're holding your arm.
Yeah. It's a cramp. Slow grav.
Yes. And that's it.
So as Randall and Briar work, they eventually delve deep enough into the lore reserves of this ship, and they find the Spectre. There's a sconce here on the Glancer, and it sort of flickers to life. And rather than it being interference like static, this Spectre, which appears as sort of this flame, this figure, it almost feels like a fire in the wind. It's sort of like going out, sort of flickering, going out, wafting in this wind. And you're very much used to specters just having this sort of face that appears in the fire, but this specter has a figure, a whole body, and it sort of appears, and it almost looks like it's sort of walking out of the fire towards you, this flickering, wafting fire. And it says, "How can I be of assistance?"
And I think Randall would sort of look around and his eyes would say, like his eyes would say, "Oh, I just got the thing working. I don't want to speak for us."
And I feel like Briar, furiously interfacing with whatever kind of security system, would look at him like, well, ask it something.
What's your name?
What's your favorite name?
I'm called Timber. Do you require assistance?
And then he sort of snaps too. Yes. Open the door.
I'm not authorized to open this door any longer. Do you require any other assistance?
And then trying to sort of pull that thread, trying to any longer. What requires you to keep it closed? I'm trying to like trick it or use different language to try to kind of make it forget or do something that it shouldn't.
I'm being overridden. I no longer have control of the functions of this void ship.
You no longer can function. You can no longer do your job.
That is correct.
So then, what good are you?
I am neither good nor bad.
Oh.
And as he's kind of, I don't know, doing whatever it is, probably interfacing with his arc tool and his to some degree his brain. I don't know. He would kind of, hearing this pause, would say, "What's overriding you?"
It is hard to say.
Is it the barrowmechs? Are they doing this?
No, the barrowmechs do not have access to my functions. There is something else interfering with the functions of the ship, interfering with the gravity, whisperlink channels, and my behavior.
Can we still launch our ship, the Nomad?
The Nomad is no longer docked with the last breath. Please ask another question.
Where is the... and I can't remember the word. Neither can I. Where is the disturbance coming from? Where is it being caused?
The origin of the overriding source seems to be in the Astrogen room, near the aft section of the void ship.
And Briar would look to everyone else like, well, I think that's all we need,
And then Randall would say, "What can we do to get you to open this door?"
You can eliminate the disturbance in the Astrogen room in the aft section of the void ship. Please help. There's... The fire flickers. There is something else here. Please help. The fire flickers again and then goes out.
And Briar would say, "Well, I guess we know where we need to go." And he'd kind of heft his hand axe. We're still in low grav, right? We're all kind of floating awkwardly.
You guys are doing that. Yeah. Like, you're all holding on to things, but your asses are just in the air the entire time. You're just sort of like...
just floating there. So yeah, he kind of, he said, I say hefts, but he kind of does this awkward thing where it just kind of swings around because he moves it with his own, and he goes, "Well, I guess that's where we're headed." And so this door is to the main cargo hold where we would find Kai, and we instead basically need to go the other way. Okay.
Yeah, it seems like that may be the case. Kurash can always try to strong arm the door open, but it's going to take some effort.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I think nothing would stop him trying, but only if someone recommended that.
Yeah, realizing that, before, I think that Randall said it, something about pulling the door open or something. He would certainly say, "Kurash, let's give this thing a shot." And I don't know, he would certainly try to help. I guess I have very low strength. If someone else had more strength to help the basically the barrowmech, maybe they're better off trying to help him.
Yeah, if anyone wants to help Kurash, he can make an athletics check at advantage to try and force open the door.
Yeah, I'll kind of climb myself over. It's going to be difficult, I think, to help in low gravity, trying to find something to actually leverage yourself on, but I'll do the best that I can.
Yeah, there's really nothing that you can brace against or anything. It's just purely the muscles in your arms trying to open this thing.
You're grabbing my leg and maybe a rack or something, like some grip on the wall, and pulling.
That's how I help. It's not even that I'm trying to help with the door. It's that I stand against the wall and hold him so he can push onto something.
Yeah.
That's perfect. Yeah. So go ahead and make that an athletics check with advantage if you want, Kurash.
Awesome. The words. Oh, I'm so thankful it's advantage. Yes, the words "surrender or die" ring in his ears, where the ringing has just now disappeared. The ringing of the explosion caused by the explosion earlier. Surrender or die. That's what the barrowmech said. And he pulls and he pulls and he pulls because he refuses to do anything other than surrender. And his total is going to be 18.
The roots give a little bit. You give it everything you have, and you begin to pull them apart. And you can see into the cargo hold beyond this door, Kurash. And you see that there are bundles of people. They're like roped together and tethered to the floor, just floating in this room. And before these roots sort of overpower you and snap back into place, you see a barrowmech put a pulsar weapon to the head of one of these people and pull the trigger. And then the branches close.
I'm not sure what Kurash would say, but he lets go and he floats backward, and the roots close over the vision that he just had, the sight that he just had, but for some reason he still can see it. And he doesn't understand why he can still see it inside of his mind. It's gone now. Why can he still perceive it? And he said, I guess he says, it's killing them. Something is killing them. He realizes that in that moment that he did not see Kai, and he feels that that is an important note actually to bring up to everyone else. And he says, Kai might still be alive.
Kai's a cunning little thing. She'll find a way. She teleported onto another ship mid-flight. I think she can manage a couple barrowmechs.
The words are soothing.
Yeah, at this sort of levity to the situation of, what we just saw, Briar kind of lets out a chuckle as well. Yeah, I'm sure she'll be fine, but I guess we've got to get to the source of this disturbance.
Yeah, just because she's able to hold her own doesn't mean I don't want to get her and us off of this dang thing before it gets too crazy. Need to find a way in.
And I think Briar would ask Kurash to potentially lead the way, the other way that we need to go, if everybody's interested in trying to go find and stop this disturbance so we can figure out what's going on.
Yeah, and real quick, Ansel will kind of like hold the 2 spears that he's taken from those guards kind of out with like a, anybody? If anybody wants to take one of those spears, he'll gladly give it to somebody else. Melee is not his specialty. Otherwise, he'll keep them stowed and continue on.
Kurash will hold out his hand for a spear.
Yeah, Ansel will like flip the spear like vertically in midair using the low gravity so that the handle point goes towards Kurash. He'll just kind of push it through the air towards him.
Great. And Kurash grabs it and actually kind of uses it as an oar to propel him forward through the space.
You're like, when the moon hits your eye like a big pizza pie, that's Harbinger.
Oh.
So the Spectre mentioned that the source of this of the problem was in the Astrogen room, which is near the aft section of the ship. So you guys head towards the rear of the ship. You kind of go back down the hallway, going in the other direction, away from the secondary cargo hold. And you pass by the 2 corpses of the guards that Ansel saw earlier. And eventually you come to the hallway sort of widens, and there's, sort of little rooms off to each side. And you see off to your left, there's a window, this big, long, wide window. And out the window, you can see the stars, and you can see the bleeding eye out in the distance, sort of luminescent against the black of the void. And you see other ships of the Inuwa migrant fleet sort of keeping pace. And you sort of realize that the ship is moving. It's moving really fast. There are sort of debris and objects sort of flying past you as you realize that the last breath is just booking it. And one of these Valoran ships, one of these smaller sort of frigates, sort of begins to drift closer, and you can see that they're kind of trying to get under the ship and try and dock. There's a flash of light as a beam of Astra fires from the last breath and cuts a line across this smaller ship, and it just rips in half with an explosion, and you see bodies flying out of the rift, cut by this Astra beam. And that's where we're going to take a break. We'll be back in just a few minutes, everyone. Grab a drink, use the bathroom, and then we'll play some more Harbinger.
We're playing Harbinger .5. All the varieties of Astra you've come to know and love. Red, yellow, otherwise. But wait till .6. Cyan, tie-dye, turquoise, blue, ocean blue, lake blue, sea blue, saltwater blue, which is different from sea blue. You have no idea what's coming. Magenta! You have no idea what's coming in .6. Harbin blue. What? This is dumb. But here we are. Hello, everybody. We're in the chat. Actually, the chat is somewhat quiet, but there are quite a few people watching. So feel free to jump into the chat, say hi. Salmon, Crayola. Harbinger Crayola variety would be lots of shades of reds and dark blues and purples and just like things that you would imagine to see in such a science fantasy, deep space, dark magic setting. So, hello. It's been a while since I've talked to a lot of these people in this chat, actually. Gavin, hi. Josh, been a long time. How's Overwatch? You play recently? I've not. It's been a bit. Mark, I'm not sure if I've met you, Mark, but it's been fun seeing what you have to say in the chat. And it would be the big box. There's so many Harbinger colors. It would definitely be the big box of Crayola crayons. Oh, hi, Jeff. Oh, we're talking about crayon colors.
Oh, great.
You never know with the chats.
Yeah, they cover some interesting ground.
Yes, they do. I mean, I don't know. This is the space in between playtime, during the break, Jeff. So if you have anything to say, or I mean, there's really no limits, especially while Matt isn't here.
Yeah, all bets are off. The guard is down. That said, I'm not sure that I have anything.
Yeah, that's fine.
That's my grand contribution. I agree that we can say things.
Yeah, I agree. Ooh, yes. Josh said, glad there are no Marines here. All this crayon talk would make them hungry, which is hilarious. But I got to show you. I don't know if you can see in this room. I'm in this weird place. But listen, I can't speak to the truth of this, but it was owned by someone who fought off the imperialists in the Second World War, Josh. Crayon eaters or otherwise. Oh my gosh. I've been watching since Provoker Season 1, Episode 4. So yes, we have met. Okay, cool. Listen, I'm trying to think of which session that was. That was back when I was playing that wizard. What was his name? Cards. What was his name? Yeah, probably Cards. He's a nobody. No one remembers him.
Yeah, I'm not sure that I've ever heard of him.
Good. So what other fun games are you playing in, Jeff?
I started up Lloyd's Fourth Age Middle Earth game a week ago, which is pretty dang super awesome. You can check that out over on your all DM if you're curious about it.
Yep, he should be here right now. He could tell you more.
Yeah, it's a bummer that he's not. He basically took Middle Earth and turned the clock forward a couple hundred years after Sauron was defeated, and kind of followed his logic of what he thinks that would look like. And we're playing that out now. It's a really interesting concept. A super cool group of people.
Yep. I think the Fourth Age.
There's not many things that can beat a Lloyd Middle Earth campaign. So I'm very excited for that.
The truth. Especially, Fourth Age is just a cool time frame in that setting to just reap what is already sown by all the previous stories and movies and whatever. Because, Sauron's fallen, but those orcs didn't go nowhere. They're now forming tribes in the realms of men. The Rohirrim, I think Lloyd has them kind of in a civil war, which makes a ton of sense. I didn't realize that until he starts describing it, but they're, there's a little infighting in Rohan. It's just, there's a lot of really cool stuff.
They've been vassalized by Gondor. Gondor's taken over, leveraged their United Kingdom to just be all right, you're under our control now. And they're not very happy about that.
Lloyd doesn't have a very optimistic viewpoint of political history, I don't think. So that makes a lot of sense.
What, Lloyd cynical about power structures? I don't know. That doesn't sound right.
No.
All right.
Welcome back.
Everybody back? Awesome. Where'd my thing go? There it is. Using Trello again for game prep. Seems to be going really well. It makes initiative really easy because you can grab things and just slide them around. And so I have a little tab for each character, and I just do the initiative order that way.
That's awesome. I've only seen Trello a little bit,
But the thing for me about prepping or like even running pre-written stuff is that it's so hard to see stuff at a glance. Like it's so hard to zoom out of a book or like I have the Lost Mine of Phandelver on D&D Beyond, and it's so hard to go, okay, so they want to go do this, and it's hard to back up and go, okay, they can go these 3 places. Trello seems perfect for that.
Yeah, it absolutely is, definitely. And I don't think it would work for all campaigns and play styles, but for Harbinger specifically and for this campaign, it just is really nice to have like all the NPCs you've interacted with so far, the locations you visited and stuff like that. And it's nice to just move stuff around. And yeah,
Mike the Piper, he swears by it. It's like his favorite thing.
He loves Trello. Okay, so the burning embers of this void ship float against the void. You see it spinning away from you, its contents spilling out of this rupture like a creature that's been gutted by a blade. This ship apparently got too close to the last breath, and it activated one of its Astra cannons and just cut a beam right through this thing. The 4 of you stand at this window looking at this scene. What do you do?
I think Briar would be kind of on his way there, not really be sure what to make of this. You know, he's just been told that their ship that they haven't had very long has undocked, and that we're traveling, you know, it could be anywhere. It seems like any attempts to get onto the ship are fruitless, and that, yeah, he just, everything is kind of hitting him at the same time that this is really bad and might not get much better. And with that, would sort of just continue on, hoping that the weight of this doesn't, you know, slow his progress, hoping that he can continue to find some silver lining, or hope that maybe something will work out on the way.
I think that Randall would be just confused and probably feeling quite unprepared and regretting using his spheroid to defend himself. You know, there's a security to having that. It's an extension of him. And so I think more out of shock than anything else, he would sort of start looking around to see if he could find the pieces and parts to start building a new spheroid, even if it was just to keep his hands and mind busy. So I want to look for vibranium.
You find a whole cache of it.
Oh, what? Black Panther's the one that's got vibranium, right? He's going to be looking.
Are any pieces of this ship flying in a like towards us? Are we in danger at all?
You see a few chunks of the ship sort of flying towards the last breath, and they sort of bounce away as they hit the void barriers outside of the ship. You see it kind of this green ripple as the debris sort of smacks against the barriers protecting the ship from the void of space.
I think in the similar way to how Randall is trying to like find these like machine parts just to keep himself busy, Ansel kind of, that survival mentality kind of kicks in for him, and his version of that is kind of keeping on the move. The place where he's from, you don't want to stand still, because that's you're going to guarantee yourself death if you don't do anything. But if you actually try to go out and make something happen, then maybe you can survive. So he's just going to kind of look towards the others and say, well, I don't want any more of those lasers coming towards us, so I think we should probably try to get out of here, figure out what's going on first. And he's just going to kind of begin moving up ahead, hoping that people will follow suit, not wanting to stand still for too long when lasers and ships are flying about.
And Randall would follow absentmindedly, sort of checked out, almost like not believing exactly what's happening, but looking for pieces and parts and probably picking up just a spare this or a spare that, Xeners and diodes and things like that.
Yeah, Briar would follow as well.
Same.
The four of you float down this hallway with the image of that ship being destroyed kind of burned into your mind. You pass by a few more dead guards, each of them carrying spears again, which you can grab if you want. You also find a deactivated barrowmech, punched full of holes, sort of floating, wreckage floating around it. There are score marks on the walls, the floor, the ceiling of this area. It looks like there was maybe a battle. You keep floating through blood. Red blood, blue blood of the barrowmechs. There's blood just floating in this hallway from the remnants of this battle as this rebellion has happened. The blood keeps splattering against you as it just floats in little globules. You make your way finally to a archway. It's open. You can see inside. There are 4 columns in this large spherical room. These are Astra-gens, generators that pull in, refine, and distribute Astra throughout the ship for the various functions. They're dimly glowing, and you can see smoky tendrils of Astra sort of spiraling inside of these columns. You see that everything looks normal, save one thing. In the middle of the room, there's a device. It's not like anything you've seen before, but it's also familiar. The device appears to be an amalgamation of metal as well as skybreach wood. It appears as kind of a stout cylinder, almost like a tree trunk. There are glowing green lights running up this device. And you see that there are roots, vines almost, extending out the bottom of this device and winding their way up the Astra-gens. You surmise that this must be the origin of the problems here aboard the Last Breath, the thing that is cutting out the gravity, the thing that is suppressing the Spectre, the thing that is disabling the Whisperlings, keeping the doors closed, disengaging the ships, firing that Astra beam. This has to be it.
Looking at this, would we know anything about anything like this, or could I tell? Like, my first instinct as a player is to just hack at it, to try and destroy it. Is there anything I might know, or potentially a check I can do to see if that's the worst idea I've ever had?
You can give me a tech check.
So that'd be a 16.
So this thing seems incredibly ingrained in the systems of the ship now. And you imagine that if you were to walk up and try to forcibly remove it, that you might do more harm than good here. The roots themselves are winding their way through the grating in the floor, interlocking with the cables, and winding their way up these columns, just spiraling up and up and up. There definitely doesn't seem to be a super apparent way to deal with it at first. The other thing you notice, Briar, is that this would immediately remind you of the module that you pulled out of the neck of that scrug. It has the same look to it, the same green light, the same skybreach wood. There's something eerily familiar about it.
And yeah, Briar realizing this would, mention that to his compatriots if they didn't realize it already, and start to put together that, well, it looks like, there's definitely something at play here, some bigger force. And I would say that Briar would start looking for a way, or maybe confer with his friends to see if there's any way we could think of to slow this thing down, stop it, or otherwise do something to it without maybe blowing the whole ship up or killing ourselves.
Yeah, I imagine as Ansel first sees this thing and it kind of sets in, he has that immediate flash in his head back to that strange woman on that unknown ship that he had seen when he linked with Kai through the Astra, looking at that necrotech. He just has that sense of of connection to it, and he's not entirely sure why, but there's something obvious about it to him that would link them. Even from whoever knows how far away that was. But yet he doesn't really know what this thing is, so he doesn't know how to get at it. But he's going to try, and I don't really have any ability, I think, mechanically, but he's going to kind of try to follow Kai's steps that Kai walked him through to see if he can connect with this thing's Astra connection in some sort of way. Again, I have no mechanics that would lead anything to that, so I'll let you decide what happens.
Yeah, if you want to go ahead and give me just an Astra check, but let's do it this way. Let's make it an Astra check with your charisma modifier rather than your intelligence, because you're pulling on something innate, something within yourself that you're trying to access here.
Yeah, so he's kind of trying to focus. He's trying to remember Kai's words, that he doesn't remember them exactly, but he just hopes that they're right enough. All right, first you focus yourself, put your mind in this sort of state, level yourself up through these different ladder steps, and he's definitely got it pointed in the wrong direction. It's not exactly right, but he's gonna hope it's close enough. Alrighty, that is a 13 on the die. I actually don't have the Astra skill, funny enough, as a Mancer, but its charisma will bring me to a 16.
So you're able to reach out, and you almost interface with this thing. You feel yourself joining the Astra inside you with the Astra that is coursing through the roots and the vines of this device. You feel this device absorbing the Astra. It seems to be feeding off of the Astra of the ship. And you feel that it's growing. You feel that it's getting bigger, more expansive, more deeply ingrained, and it's doing it very, very quickly. As you're interfacing, you get a flash again of that woman with that skull-like mask orbited by those spheroids. You don't know how you know, but she's looking at you. You know that she's aware of you. You know that even though she's not physically present, she is here. She is aware of what's going on. And as you reach out and interface with this thing, Ansel, the ship shudders as whatever presence has infected the last breath reacts to you, attempting to probe it. And you know that the reaction is based out of fear. You know you can do something here to stop this.
Yeah, there's this strange arc of emotions that Ansel goes through as he first probes, and then he sees this flash of this woman. A small pinch of fear will kind of hit him as he feels this presence. He's looking at this person who's not there, and she's looking back at him. But then he'll feel that fear coming back towards him, and he'll just kind of look towards the others, shaking his head, he doesn't know how he managed to do that, but he did somehow. And there's this strange sense of relief and fear, but also okay. And he's gonna look towards the others and just say, All right, don't ask how I know, because I don't know either. But this thing is a parasite. It's feeding on the Astra here, and it's using it to grow. I don't know to what end or what this thing is, but I can feel that it's scared. Like we might do something. Like it could be stopped. I'll just kind of like shake his head, like he doesn't know exactly where to go from there, but he knows that there's something.
Kudash says, "Stop it," as if you would, know what that means. But, obviously, let's take the fastest direction between 2 points.
And Ansel will kind of like look around. If it feeds off of Astra, and if we shut these generators down, maybe it'll run out of food. He'll kind of like shrug, like he doesn't really know that's possible.
And the so these roots that are growing everywhere, what I was going to try to do is, as we've kind of been walking along, I've absentmindedly been building my go-to spheroid. It's that sort of a piece of this, a bit of this, some of this, a little of this. And so what I'd like to try to do is break off some of this root system. If this is the wood that I'm familiar with, this Inuwa sort of very rare, strange wood. And I want to try to incorporate it somehow into the spheroid. And see if I can basically, as Ansel is talking to this thing through the Astra, almost create some sort of an interface that lets him do that more easily. Like make the spheroid sort of a connecting piece, something that would allow him to maybe fill the void that Kai would be able to do. Like some sort of link or something like that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you're just trying to break off a piece of the tree here, of the root. Break off a piece of that Kit Kat bar.
Hey, sports. So you're trying to break the So the
Break
idea
me off a piece of that fancy feast. Nobody tell him.
What I'm trying to do is basically, if maybe I'm understanding it wrong, the roots are wrapped around this piece.
Yeah, so the roots themselves are originating from this cylinder, and they've wrapped their way up the generators here in this room.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So essentially, what I'm trying to do is, as he's trying to say, hey, let's switch off these generators. Let's do something. What I'm trying to do is, basically make a modified spheroid by breaking a piece of this wood off and sort of incorporating it into the design, making it easier for him to maybe read this thing or get into the flow of the Astra, or basically see maybe where it's feeding or how we can cut it off without it exploding. Sort of like an empathy thing. I don't know how the wood works, but
yeah, definitely. So I'll allow you to do that. You cut some of the wood free, either using your arc tool or just snapping off one of the more brittle pieces. And you quickly sort of use it to, hold a piece of the spheroid together, or use it as part of the outer shell of this thing, incorporating into it. Go ahead and give me an arc tool check as you do that.
Yep. So what is a negative number when you roll a negative? No, it's actually it's a dirty 20.
Okay, so you very quickly and efficiently do this, and manage to create this spheroid, and it activates, floats up into the air. So what I will allow you to do is this spheroid can essentially be a 1 second. Where is it? I gotta remember how to play this game.
Who wrote it though?
Not me. So it can be a support spheroid.
Okay.
And it can assist a target creature within 10 feet of it. The creature can roll 1d4 and add the number rolled to one ability check, attack roll, or saving throw it makes before the start of their next turn. So this is basically a support spheroid that will super help with specifically this issue here. So yeah,
Killer.
Good job, man. That's awesome.
Killer. Yeah, and so I sort of sick it on Ansel. Like I basically could and communicate to him that it will guide him.
Very cool.
Yeah, Ansel will kind of like nod and of like a bit of pride will even come across his face, and I'll just kind of give you a look like, yes, like I appreciate what you've done here. He's gonna turn his attention towards specifically the cylinder thing that these roots are coming out of. I trying to get a gauge, like if this is some sort of central point for this thing, then what can we try to do with it? Like if we can kill the heart, so to speak, maybe the limbs will die.
Yeah, so definitely the cylinder is where all these roots are originating from. You can tell that they've sprouted kind of from the bottom of this thing, almost like it was sort of set on the floor and then sort of spread out to wrap itself around the astrogens here in the room. And you definitely think that somehow disabling this cylinder would have would nullify its effect, this sapping effect that it has. But much like Ansel, you're afraid to do too much with it because you also know that this thing is sort of infecting the ship and it has a lot of control over what's going on. And so you don't necessarily feel super comfortable just walking up to it and picking it up or trying to cut it loose. But you think that if you can disable this, if you can cut it off from the power, if you can do something to rid this thing of its advantage, then you can definitely sort of disable it completely.
Yeah, as he kind of gets used to this thing, like he's kind of mapping this presence out in his mind, he'll kind of look towards the others. This thing is definitely the source of all this. If we can find a way to cut it off, right now it's entwined itself with the ship, but if we can separate them, then we can get rid of the structure around it. We just need to find a way. And I'll kind of look towards the mechanists. If there's any way to shut off these generators or something to cut the connection or cause something, I think that it'll at least disconnect this thing from the ship and we can try to clear it out.
Yeah, and you mechanists would know, you would actually just quickly look and see that there are these gigantic sort of cut-off levers, these shutdown levers on each of these astrogens that can be pulled, toggled to shut down the flow of Astra from each generator. There are 4 in total with these big, giant sort of big levers.
So I want to take the levers and make spheroids.
Okay, perfect. No. So you have 4 lever spheroids.
Okay, and then
you
I give them
on checks made to pull levers.
Levers pulling levers really confuses Kurak.
It's levers all the way down. As the 4 of you are sort of getting your bearings and looking and sort of noting these levers, the walls around this room are they're sort of dark. There's this sort of dim light coming from the astrogens themselves, which lights the center of the room. But beyond that, it's very dark. It's very shadowy. And Kudrash, you would notice it first, although it would be hard to conceal from anyone. A massive piece of the wall dislodges itself. And you hear something. Kurash, you sort of notice it first, and then everyone else hears these sounds. And as this shape sort of moves closer to the field of light, there are 2 flickering eyes that glow green as a gigantic barrowmech covered in roots from head to toe steps into the prismatic light of the astrogens, hefts an axe, and gets into a defensive stance to protect the astrogens. Let's roll for initiative.
How big do you say this thing is? You said gigantic.
It's at least twice as tall as you, Kurash. It's probably close to 12 feet tall.
Mother of God.
So I'm going to go ahead and try to talk this guy down with my tech attuned.
Hey, man.
Reaper narrow, Reaper narrow, Reaper narrow. Matt's like, not tonight, baby, gun to bed.
Sorry, this one don't got no ears.
Ooh, not good initiative rolls, guys.
Oh, that got me so good, Tim.
Luckily, I didn't roll super great either. Okay, so it looks like it's going to be Randall, and then Ansel, the barrowmech,
Randall?
then Briar and Karush.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, and then Daryl.
And then Daryl.
All right, I'm moving Kai off of the initiative and moving her over to the another thing so I don't get confused here. All right. So, Randall, you are up first, my friend.
I think I would. You know, he'd say, I think in a bid of self-preservation, he would begin to shout Reaper Narrow, almost like, but I feel like it would be drowned out by the whirring of this thing's servos that just go. So it's the phrase itself does not come fully out. It's just like, okay. And so, quick meta question. Did we ever actually say, hey guys, let's go to this side room to the right of the controls and get our guns? Or are we still walking around with spears?
You guys do not have your pulsers because in order to get back to that room, you would have had to have gone through the main cargo hold.
We couldn't get to that. I thought so.
You're at the very back of the ship. Your guns are literally as far away as they could be right now near the front of the ship.
Yeah, when he said that, I was like, wait, we were near the guns and nobody said grab them. I'm confused.
You were like, nah, we're good.
Nah. Well, I didn't know if it was one of those things where it was like, guys, did we not go into that room and get blue key?
Yeah.
Like, come on.
You guys are trying to save in Resident Evil and you don't have any typewriter ink.
Oh my God.
That is the best me cut. Oh, that's killer. All right, so my skills here are not fighting. They are doing what James suggested, which is interacting with them for charisma ability checks. So here's the thing. I'm not trying to convince this thing not to attack us. I'm trying to convince this thing not to attack me. I am in league with it. I want to do what it wants to do. I want to hurt or defend or guard whatever it wants to do. And so what I'm going to attempt to do is feign. I'm going to turn my back to it as though I'm with it, standing with it against my friends here. And what I would probably do if Ansel would allow it, or if Kudosh would allow it, I would grab one of their spears out of their hand and awkwardly, not really selling it as well as I could, hold it like how your mom holds a Nintendo controller. It's just wrong. I'm just like, so I'm holding this spear and I essentially am trying to use this ability that I have this when interacting with the barrowmech specters of constructs. I'm proficient with charisma ability checks. I want to convince this thing that I'm not trying to hurt it.
Okay, so go ahead and give me a deception check then with that tech attuned.
And you super get the spear out of Kudosh's hand. He trusts you implicitly.
Awesome. And I sort of like wave it at him a little bit, like, but with eyes of like, I'm so sorry. Okay, not bad. So, okay, so 17 all up.
Okay. So I also got a 17. So what I'm going to rule this as is that you've essentially bought yourself time. You've got 2 rounds here where this thing is not going to specifically be targeting you. It's sort of, you see it kind of scanning, very quickly scanning the room, sort of taking stock of everyone there. It sees you sort of holding this spear, and it instantly sort of like sweeps past you and focuses on the other 3.
Nobody here but us Daryls.
Do you want to do any movement on your turn, Randall?
Yeah, in fact, I actually will move behind the thing.
Move behind the barrowmech?
I know it's enormous. So essentially, right now it's scanning and it sees me and it sort of sweeps over me, right?
Yeah.
I want to scurry out of its field of view, basically behind it. Get out of the way.
So you can make it about halfway there, but you can hide behind one of the Astra gens if you want.
Yeah, let's do that. That's perfect.
Cool. Just because your speed is halved because of the low grav. So
sure.
You manage to skirt around the side and flank along, and you're sort of behind one of the Astra gens out of its immediate field of view.
Perfect. Yeah, that's killer.
Cool. All right, Ansel.
Yeah, Angela's gonna like see this like enormous thing just like tower over them. Like the fear immediately kind of coming across his face as just this enormous thing has put itself in their path. He's gonna see Randall run behind it and just like the confusion mounts. He's not quite sure what he's trying to do there. But I'm sure he'll find out. He's going to kind of reach for his back where he has like a couple of these spears looped. And he's going to like hold out his hands. Yellow Astra will begin to encompass them, and then the spears. And if you'll allow it, I don't know, like if without anti-grav, I don't know if it would work, but I have grav shift, which lets me pick things up and throw them. So I'd like to use one of the boosts to target the three spears that I have left. And then another one of the boosts to hurl the three different spears at the barrowmech, like Jedi Master style at this thing.
Yeah, I mean, of course. That sounds great.
As he just like holds out his hands, like these spears kind of unloop, float up from the anti-grav, and then they kind of all just like come upwards and then just like as they point towards the barrowmech, like hold his hands towards it, and they'll all fly towards it.
I love that.
And that is going to be 18, 19, and 19 to hit.
Those all hit. Give me some damage with those spears.
Alrighty. So it says it does a d6 per 10 pounds. I assume each spear would just be 1d6.
Yeah, so go ahead and give me 3d6 worth of damage there.
Alrighty, that's almost max. That's 15 piercing as just these three different spears just like fly towards it.
You hit something vital with these things. They manage to find their way in between the plates of this gigantic barrowmech, and you see blue fluid sort of pouring out, floating into the air, and this thing kind of stumbles back a bit and then rights itself. Ansel, do you want to do any movement before this thing's turn?
I don't know that there's anywhere he could go that would make him safe for what's about to happen to probably him. So no.
All right. So this is one of the issues with Theater of the Mind combat, because I'm about to ask who would be standing near Ansel right now?
Who would be floating closest to Ansel?
Yeah.
Right now?
Because I'm essentially asking, hey, who wants to get shot at right now?
So I do feel like I sort of approached the thing, so I imagine I'd be near Ansel, kind of close to where this thing came out. You know, I feel like I moved up first, was looking around all around it. Just don't roll higher than 16 and I'll stay in this thing. Hint, hint.
Yeah, so I think I agree with Jeff in the chat that it would be everyone except Randall here, and at least within 10 feet of each other, I would imagine. So this thing, it's carrying this axe, but it sort of puts one arm forward, and you see that one of its arms, instead of having a fist on it, has the biggest pulsar weapon you've ever seen. It looks like a pulsar weapon that would be on a ship, not carried by a person. It has rotating, spinning barrels, and this thing powers up. I need the three of you to please give me a dexterity saving throw. DC 15.
That's with disadvantage too, because we're anti-grav.
Yes.
Except for
Mr. Voidborn there.
Yeah. Briar Shand. Moonwalker, IRL.
Wow. Okay. So everyone is going to be taking 9 piercing damage as this pulsar cannon just spews rounds in a field of fire. Just and it just melts the floor beneath you. Just white hot rounds of pulsar fire just spraying on you. This thing continues moving forward. And you see every time it steps, its feet sort of maglock to the floor. And it continues walking towards you. Smoke rising out of the spinning barrels of this thing.
Sorry, real quick. I
Fire.
didn't want to interrupt during, but I forgot that did put me over my fade, the Astra
Oh,
thing that
okay.
I did by a little bit. So I'll just real quick, if you don't mind, get
Let's
sneak
do it.
So I'm just 2 over, so that'll be on the D6 chart, which
Jeff,
I have
you
up right
faded,
here.
dog. You faded, dog.
All right. That doesn't really. So it's a 5, which
Mhm.
Astra brings me to the floor. I'm knocked prone. I don't know how you want to say that happens in anti-grav.
I would say that it probably doesn't happen. You're just sort of momentarily but you're fine because you're
Imagine it sends me like spinning a little bit, like backwards.
like
my
you
wrist.
send the spears out and there's like a burst of uncontrolled Astra and you sort of do like an uncontrolled sort of backflip as the Astra sort of explodes in front of you. All right, Briar, you're up.
So Briar just getting peppered with white hot rounds here. It's gonna try to hide behind the, what did you call it? The Astra cylinder.
Yeah, the cylinder in the middle of the room.
Yeah,
or the Astrogen things, the generators.
Something. I was thinking the cylinder in the middle of the room, but anything far enough away, but close enough that I can potentially. His original plan was to get up close with this thing and hack at it with an axe, but then he immediately rethought that plan and is going to hide behind something and shoot an Astra bolt at it. Rolling a natural 20.
Hey, there you go.
Yeah, which total is going to be a 21. And I think it's a D6 damage. There's no bonus on that, right? The Astra bolt is just flat D6.
It'll be double damage because you critted.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Mm-hmm.
So sorry, double what I rolled, or
roll and then double it.
Okay, so 8 total.
8 total.
That.
Okay,
Yeah.
Not bad. So
you
actually
behind this thing. Yeah, go ahead.
You actually do some damage with this Astra bolt. You sort of fling it with this hand axe, and it kind of like slags a piece of armor plating off of this thing, sort of floats away from it.
Yeah, I feel like Briar's, after missing 4 or 5 times in the last combat, has gotten kind of used to this low grav kind of slinging these shots at it, and is happy to see a shot finally connect when it matters.
And as soon as you guys are getting used to low grav, you're going to turn the gravity back on. So,
and then it's going to feel like we're still on the treadmill.
Yeah,
getting still, and it feels like you're still walking. James is slinging high-lie Astra bolts at nothing.
Oh my God, Kurash, you are up.
Kurash is blasted back by the Leviathan level pulsar, and he's flying backwards. He sees the Golden City, and then he sees the ceiling, and then the floor, and then the ceiling, and then the floor, and then he sees Kai rolling a cigarette, and then he sees the ceiling, and then the floor, and then he sees he's on his knees praying, and Kai's yelling at him to get up off his knees, and he sees the ceiling and the floor, and he comes to, and he tries. I'm going to use my action to try to grab onto something. I'm so low at HP, I think that I should probably have to regain my bearings before doing anything else. So I'm going to try to like grab on a still barrowmech floating through the room to try to regain my bearings, if that's okay, like with an athletics check or an acrobatics check. Go ahead.
I was just going to say you can absolutely do so. Yeah, you sort of steady yourself and set yourself up for a better vantage point for next time.
Sweet. I got 16 on that.
Beautiful.
So I regain my bearings, I imagine, and then I'm going to use my bonus action to do that energy weapon again. I focus into the rune blade, and I don't know what they say, but as they ignite in red, I see a language that I can't hear or read or feel, but there's something in there that says trust your intuition, and I do that. I'm excited to do that, but I have to roll on my Astra effect table because I have just gone above my Astra fade by 1. So
awesome. Is that the first time?
The first time ever. I don't even imagine Kurash knows what he's doing. You are able to maintain control of the Astra. Nothing unforeseen happens. He feels the power just surge through his body, and it feels good. And awesome. he's ready for the next round.
Awesome, man. So I need Randall Briar, and Ansel to please give me dexterity saving throws, DC 12.
Ooh, even with the disadvantage, I'll make that.
How you doing, Randall?
Spoken a big fat 6.
So as this battle is transpiring, this just massive barrowmech is spraying his pulsar weapon across the room. The roots seem to react and immediately start sort of shooting upwards, trying to grab you. And Briar and Ansel, you guys manage to sort of kick off the floor and get out of the way of them. And Kurash, you're too high up for them to reach. But Randall, one of them grabs your leg tight, and you are now grappled where you stand. All right. And it is your turn, Randall. If you want to try and move away from this, you're going to have to give me a athletics check to get away.
Killer. Does that count as my action, or?
It would count as your action, yes. It's also not immediately hurting you. It's just rooting you in place.
Killer. I think for a moment I would stand, because I was running. I was leaving. I was trying to get away. And I think this thing grabs me and it sort of stops me where I am. And I see my brother. I see Daryl. But he's a ruin of a person. He's deep claw marks in his chest, blood everywhere, and I'm holding him in my arms. And I'm telling him it's going to be okay. It's gone. It's gone. You and Dad, you did it. It's gone. And he coughs, and some of his blood gets on his very white, broad smile. And he just says, I'm going to be all right. I'll be all right. And I say, yeah, you're going to be all right. And he said, and as his eyes grow still, the final words that leave his lips are, don't die without any scars. And as my brother dies in my arms, and I don't even know, I'm maybe all of 18, 19, as him and my father drove away the Ravik that slew a huge part of the moon where I was raised on. The words ring in my head, don't die without any scars. And I realize what a coward I've been. And so I pull away as hard as I can from these roots.
Tim, that was amazing.
$16 all up.
You wrench yourself free, maybe even taking a bit of the root with you as you pull yourself away from them.
And my action has me lurch toward this thing, and I'm pushed forward as though my legs are moving without me. And so I march toward the thing, and I'm going to use my movement to get under it, trying still to stay outside of its sensors. But what I'm doing is I'm targeting and focusing on that pulsar. And as soon as I can get half of a chance, I'm going to use every bit of know-how I have to disconnect and decommission that gun from its arm.
Awesome, man. Cool. Anything else you want to do in your turn? Your spheroid's still floating around if you want it to act.
I think I was gonna try to maybe I already did the Dead Brother flashback action. Let's do no, what I would what I would like to do is, if there would be any way to use it to help me on the next turn, or to help it for the barrowmech to not see me. I know I have 2 rounds and this is 1.
Yeah.
So basically, yes, I would like to use the spheroid to position it, pulling it from Ansel to basically be there when I need it next round.
Yeah. So you're basically, you give yourself a D4 you can use at any point on your next turn.
Killer.
All right. Ansel, you're up.
Yeah, Ansel, similar to Karash, has to like take a moment to stabilize himself as he's kind of like spinning through the ether, barely managing to dodge these roots that come up to grab him. He manages to just like barely kind of barrel roll mid-air to stay out of their trajectory, righting himself, kind of grasping with one arm at his side where he's now been just pelted with Astra bullets. But he's going to reach down, pull up the pulsar that he stole from the last barrowmech, pointing at this thing. And as he tries to like focus his Astra, for a second he can just like feel this skull-masked woman's eyes on him. He can feel the just tiniest bit of a smirk. Somehow she knows how badly that he's been hurt. Like, he doesn't know if it's in his head or not, but he can like feel this confrontation with this imaginary person. Or is she imaginary? He doesn't even know. But he's going to like snap back to reality as he finally rights himself up into an upright position, bring the gun out, and just like with everything he has, like red flashes from his body into the gun as he looks at this thing, just tries to fire a shot at it. you got me with that. Which it's going to be a 17 to hit.
17 just hits.
Woo. Yeah, so this like blast of red, even more so than he's been using in his other shots, like kind of funnels into the gun as he fires it. It's gonna like blast onto the barrowmech. It's gonna take 10 force damage. But this kind of like almost like the roots that the cylinder has sprouted, this bullet hits into the barrowmech and begins to tendril out red Astra around it as if roots are coming from this force bullet itself. Wrapping onto the barrowmech. This is going to be the boost that Astra Bolt gets, where the next attack will have advantage as these entwining red Astra roots have taken hold of this barrowmech to light the way for his comrades. And this overuse of energy is going to sap Ansel in a big way. He's going to take a level of exhaustion from the Astra roll table.
Ooh, man.
As he overstretches, he reaches for too much power. Like there's more Astra in the room than normal as these roots are feeding off the generators, and he pulls too much into himself and lets this huge burst out. But it's going to leave him with his own burden to carry from it.
That's awesome. Very cool. So whoever attacks this barrowmech next is going to have advantage, thanks to Ansel's keen use of the boost there. It is the barrowmech's turn. I need to roll to see if that gun recharges. It does not. It steps forward and it kind of completely ignoring Randall off to its left. It stalks forward and let's see. Who does it get to first between Ansel and Briar? It's going to be Briar. So Briar, you're sort of ducking behind cover and you look up and you see this thing just towering over you and it goes woof, woof. It wheels back with this axe and brings it crashing down, swinging this massive weapon. You manage to dodge out of the way, however, as I roll a 5 on the die, and the axe embeds itself in the grating of the floor and it kind of has to wrench it out of the floor to free it. All right, Briar, you're up.
And so already being in close combat with this thing, instead of shooting the Astra Bolt that he's been shooting, realizing that he rolled the D6 when it should have been a D8 last round, but it's not important. He's going to go ahead and hit this thing with his hand axe, or try to hit this thing with his hand axe up close.
Don't forget advantage.
Yeah, you get advantage, which means you're basically rolling normally since you're in low grade. Oh no, you actually get advantage. Since you're
Voidborn, I get real advantage.
Voidborn, baby.
Well, my first roll was good anyway, so it doesn't matter. Yeah, so 18 to hit, and this is the real one. So 4.
4 damage. All right.
4 damage.
So it's not a super destructive hit, but you feel like you hit something important. You get through the plates of its armor, and you cut some cabling away, and there's a spray of this blue fluid that comes out of it. All right. Kurash.
Kurash sees Randall break free and seems to you're standing in an advantageous position, wouldn't you say? Kurash is holding this weapon wreathed in red Astra, and he's a little too far away to use it against this thing, and he is going to try to throw it through anti-gravitational space toward Randall to perhaps have him grab it and use it in his next attack, because it's wreathed in red Astra, and that would benefit him, and he feels like that's what he needs to that's how he can best help his friends and his party at this time. What do you need from me to do that, Matt?
I'll just let you do it. I hadn't really considered what would happen if you let go of a weapon with energy weapon on it, but it just lasts for the duration, I guess. So yeah, I'll let you do it.
Okay, cool. All right, so you
send it sailing towards Randall.
I do. I send it sailing towards Randall.
Do you give him a heads up?
Nope. In my head, I do. In my head, he knows it's coming, but I'm just a machine man.
Which is like giving somebody a bullet by shooting it at them.
It kind of is.
I love it.
Speaking of which, it is your turn, Randall. You see a sword wreathed in red energy flying towards you.
And I think even in this moment, the adrenaline and the memories, and I can feel my past soaking against me like wet clothes. And if you'll allow this, I think what I do is I see the sword, and it's clear to me in a way that an engineer would see it. I don't see a sword swinging end over end in space. I see cause and effect. I see fulcrum and lever. And what I'm going to do is my spheroid and my arc tool, I use everything that I can to sort of just angle that pulsar, that huge pulsar, so that the sword sticks straight in it. Just, I don't try to catch the sword. I don't try any of that. I just see projectile and put target in front of projectile.
Okay. I will.
Nobody would be mad if it gets cut off. Nobody. Not even the barrowmech. I talk to him.
So what kind of check do you imagine that this would be, Tim?
Because of the way I described it, I would say something, either the arc tool, so either an arc tool check where I'm sort of like trying to position it, or intelligence to master the trajectory and the physics of it. I think this is a very sleight of hand sort of move, but not from a thieving sort of standpoint, but more of like a physics nerd.
Okay. So why don't we make it an arc tool check using your intelligence?
That's pretty great for me. Things are looking up. Now, I am, if you'll allow it, I am going to use that support spheroid on myself.
Yeah.
Was the that was kind of my main thrust.
So that'll add a D4 there.
Killer. All right. D4 roll, not bad. 3. Okay, not bad. So I have +7 on my arc tool. I'm pretty arc toolish.
The biggest arc tool I know.
All told, it's a 24.
24. Okay, so I imagine you sort of very quickly, like using a combination of your spheroid, your arc tool, you're sort of very quickly interfacing with this thing as best you can and essentially moving its arm up into the path of this blade. And the blade will sort of stick through the gun here. So go ahead and give me whatever the damage would be on that sword. So I'm not sure what that is, Barker. I believe it's a great sword with energy weapon on it. So would that be 3d6?
So I think actually, I thought it was a D8 plus D8 for the Astra. That's what I rolled the last time. Am I wrong?
Well, because it's a war blade, which I believe is 2d6. So if it's it'd be 2d6 plus a 1d8.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah. That sounds great. Also, as a side note, that previous enemy died a lot faster. But
Gotcha.
that's fine.
Okay, cool.
This is fine.
So from here on out, it's a D20. Just roll a D20. It's real swingy, but when it hits, baby.
Man, when it hits.
That is 12 points of damage total.
12 points of damage. So you very quickly do this so quick that you don't even really cognitively do it, Randall. It's almost instinctual for you. It's almost like putting your hand up if someone's trying to hit you. You just do it. Yes. And this thing puts its arm up and you see the blade just kind of go through the tip of this blade sticking out the other end of its arm. And it kind of like kind of whips this arm around trying to get the sword out of it. You see sparks flying, blue fluid shooting out in a gout as you have effectively disabled this pulsar arm by putting a thrown warblade through it in low gravity. Good job, everybody.
That's amazing. I didn't know you were going to really let me disable it. I was like, all right, now it's time to...
You rolled like a 34 on the check, so I'm not going to...
Dude, that's that +7 arc tool and the spheroid doing the Lord's work.
So good. All right. Good job, Randall. And now this thing goes and looks right at you.
Fair point.
Yeah.
Hi, guy. Hey, we might have got off on the wrong foot.
Hi, guy. All right. Ansel, you're up.
Ansel's going to look on. If it wasn't so serious, he would look incredulously at Randall to be sure that he just saw what he actually saw. But he's almost dead, so there's more important things to worry about. He's going to reach up, gun pointed again, learning from his mistake that even though we need to get this thing done, he can't overexert himself or else he will kill himself with his own Astra instead of this thing's. So he'll kind of conservatively load a next round of Astra into his gun with his powers, using another Astra Bolt, just a single use this time. 0 fade, which is going to be a 21 to hit for 7 force damage. That's just another Astra Bolt fires towards this thing.
That definitely hits. Good amount of damage too. You see more pieces of this thing just its sparks are flying. It's just blue fluid just pouring out of this thing. You see it kind of twitching a little bit, trying to lift one leg up. The servos are broken. It's not looking great. It's this thing's turn, though. It turns to Randall, wheels up with this axe, and brings it down hard. AC on Randall is 15, so that's a hit.
Yeah.
And that's going to be... How's 13 damage treat you?
So, between you and me, I drop. I have exactly 13 hit points.
So the rest of you see an axe being lifted up. You see Randall's face as he realizes what's about to happen, try to get out of the way, and then he just disappears as the axe comes down and cleaves the floor in two. And it wrenches the axe free, and you don't see Randall. He's probably in the floor somewhere.
Not on.
He's in the floor. You're in the grating of the floor.
I was like, that's how smashed I am. I'm like sponge cake.
He just like broke the top on your creme brulee with a
Hollywood's just like, it's a bit of a close bake, but you know, there's the lemon in here.
It's quite scrummy though. So Tim, what I'm going to need you to do you have your DMG handy?
Yeah, actually.
Will you go to the lingering injuries and roll on that, and we'll talk about that on your next turn?
Sure.
Briar, you're up.
So I'm gonna hit him with an axe like a normal person. But he swings down, you know, at Randall again, completely ignoring me, who just hacked one off. Now, granted, everybody else is doing damage like nobody's business, so he's got his priorities straight. But you know, his axe hand comes down and comes back up, and I'm just gonna, you know, swing at it, try to lop it off at like the forearm here with a good old hand axe. That's a 17 to hit. I think that hits,
just
right?
Enough. Yep, AC 17.
Oh, jeez. Okay, and then D6 plus 0. That's a 4. So 4 damage.
I wish you knew how close you were to just killing this thing.
I wish I had a plus on hand axe. Where's my scattergun? Randall. I'm Randall, guys. Briar yet again feels the longing for his scattergun like nothing else. The 1d10 plus 3. And he's just like, and he's just like, oh, hacking at the metal on metal of the hand axe is just killing him.
Oh man, yeah, not having a good time with that.
No, not so much.
All right,
he looks down in the hold to see if he can see where Randall is.
You see the hint of Randall beneath the grating of the floor. He's holding up a sign that says "ouch." So, Kudarash, you're up. You're sort of floating up in the air. You see below you the barrowmech sort of on its last leg, literally. It's dragging one leg behind it. Your war blade is embedded in the gun arm. It looks like it's very close to shutting down here. What would you like to do?
If I remember correctly, Kudarash was kind of like grabbing a dead barrowmech that was kind of floating in the ether to gain his bearings. He's going to plant his feet on that thing and propel himself towards this barrowmech that he has seen dispatch his friends so easily, so swiftly. And in his hand, there is no ethereal weapon of legend. There is no wreathed in Astra weapon. There is a simple spear granted to him by Ansel, and he is going to dive down and thrust it into the back of the barrowmech's head as okay 15 18 total.
That hits. Give me some damage.
Oh, come on. 10 total out of a 2d6 plus my bonus plus d8.
With the inertia that you generate kicking off of this floating barrowmech, you drive this spear deep into this thing's skull, pushing past steel, pushing past wood, pushing past wire. And as you do so, the thing just tenses. And then kind of slacks. Every plate, every piece falling into the next one. Its eyes flicker and go out, and it begins floating in the low grav, sort of leaving the floor as the maglock is disengaged, and this massive hulking barrowmech dies. Good job, Kurash.
Thanks. I sit there for a moment with it on my spear, under my spear, and it dies, and Kurash wonders where it went. And he pulls the spear out and finds his way back to his companions.
That's so dope. Before we deal with what's going on in this room, Randall, how are we looking on that lingering injury?
I figured I'd roll it live. So
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. What is a 2? At least I know one's an I.
I was like, he told you to look it up.
No. Yeah, I'm just saying. Oh, God.
Oh, God. This can't be good.
You lose your
an arm or hand. Oh my God! You can no longer hold anything with 2 hands. You can hold only a single object at a time. What the crap? Okay. Well, that's.
If only we were playing in the setting with like cybernetics or something. Cool.
I'm so excited that you got an arm lopped off because Tim, that's going to give us an excuse to work on necrograft rules for next time.
Yeah, boy. Oh yeah,
So,
brother.
What does Randall look like here? Also, you need to make a death saving throw, my friend.
Oh, yeah,
we should probably make sure you're not, dead before.
That's a good call.
Yeah,
that's also a good call. Yep.
Yeah.
Let's okay.
I just saw Jeff's message in the chat. Lloyd may not be here physically, but he's here in spirit. That is so true.
Sorry, I bark laughed into the micro.
I just flying owlbeared you.
Ugh, that's one failed death save as well.
Okay.
Christmas.
So, the barrowmech is dead. Randall is buried somewhere under the grating of this floor. The roots coming out of this cylinder continue to sort of reach towards you, but almost in a futile effort. There's not enough reach, not enough length on these things to do any real damage or grasp at you guys. You're able to avoid them easily. The ship, you can feel it even in low grav. You can feel that the ship is kind of shuddering and moving. You can hear the groan and the grating of the beam supporting the frame of this ship. It is clearly moving very quickly and reacting to some fashion to what is happening here in this room. What do the 3 of you that are conscious want to do?
Ansel is going to look over to the others, Karash and Briar, say, just gonna point to the hole in the ground and just say, "You guys look after him." He's gonna look at Briar. If you can heal him like you did me, I don't know. But he's going to begin to run towards all these levers, and while they presumably dig our friend out of the trench, he's gonna start pulling on these levers that were pointed out to him by the mechanists. These shut off levers, just trying to get these roots, whatever they are, cut off.
And so Matt, based on these rules, the idea is we can only have 1 spheroid at a time, right? So I used my support spheroid, so I would need to make another one some other time before I could heal him with one.
Well, you wouldn't need to make another one. You would just need to activate the one that you already used. Which, why am I scrolling like a plebeian? I have bookmarks on this PDF. Hang on. Okay.
Well, yeah. Sorry, I misunderstood the rules.
So,
yeah, because like Jeff said, I used all 10 points. I had 10 points based on how the support one works, and then that's it done.
Oh,
I had to make another one.
Your hit point pool replenishes after a long rest.
Oh, okay. So I don't have
you,
it yet, but I don't have to.
You used all the points in your pool, so yeah, because you can activate the spheroid whenever. But it's the point of pool. The point of pools. The pool of points runs out. And you have to replenish it. Yeah.
Yeah. So based on that, I would, I would try to get Kurash's attention and gingerly try to get him out of this hole. Basically, trying to see what's going on. And try to get him out and potentially healed up before he dies.
You guys do still have menders, just FYI, in your equipment.
Oh yeah, I didn't menders.
I make one an arm.
And a mender.
I got a mender arm, baby.
A mender's basically a health potion, right?
Yep, it's like stim pack. Yep.
So yeah, I'm gonna have Kurash help me kind of, like I said, extricate him from this hole in the floor. And then mend him. Just put a mender right on the end of right on his bloody stump. Just
Yeah, you have to peel Randall from the floor, and one of his arms doesn't come with him. Like it almost looks like the blade of the axe and the grating of the floor just severed the arm completely. And so he's just bloody, battered. You pull him out of the hole, and one of his arms stays behind. You pop this syringe onto him, and Randall, you're able to roll a hit die and regain that number of hit points plus your con mod.
Killer.
I grossed everybody out with that.
But that was really good.
Yeah.
And then I would, after getting him out and doing this, I would move to help Ansel figure out whatever it is we can to hopefully try and stop what's happening.
Cool.
And Kudosh is going to stay with Randall. He's not entirely sure exactly what this means for Randall, but he's going to, I imagine it's kind of like that pilot episode of Lost where they pull the guy out from underneath and his leg's just gone. Like there's just a bloody smear. And so Randall, is it the arm that you were holding before in front of Kudosh or the other arm?
Narratively, I don't know, because it would be kind of cool if there was a symbolic thing where that was ripped off. I'll make the choice and say, yeah, I think it was the arm that I was holding and it was ripped off. And while it seems horrific, it might be a boon.
Cool. Yeah. Kudosh kind of kneels next to you and attempts to, I don't know, be there as a moral support.
And I think Randall is not conscious yet, right? Or he is. I mean, I don't know how.
You would be. Yeah, you would be, but it would be you'd be pretty shocked. It's sort of like menders are just filled with this like concentrated blue Astra that just kickstarts your healing. So you're naturally healing, but very quickly. And so it's painful. It hurts. And so you're coming to, you're feeling, an arm is gone and you feel your body healing itself. You feel ribs kind of cracking in place. You feel skin regrowing, wounds, coagulating and stuff. And it's not a pleasant experience at all.
Gotcha.
And Kudosh will then say, feel the pain, for you'll never feel it again, as he comes to and feels it.
Sorry, I was waiting for Randall to say something.
Oh, you were?
I thought for some reason on my screen, Tim, you were unmuted that whole time, and I was like, I thought you were. So I was waiting for you to say something. I was following.
Oh, thank you. No, I was. Yeah, sorry. On my screen, I was muted. And I was like,
honestly, I think my Hangouts maybe like blipped for a second because it was like everyone was kind of paused for a second. So I think that was my bad. Sorry.
I was like, oh, it's nice and quiet. I'm going to make a joke. And then I was like, no, because as soon as I do, someone's going to say something important. Because I was thinking, hey, who's got me mender? Who's touching me mender? That's what I get. So, yep.
I'm glad that we got to hear what
that was fruitful.
What you decided not to say.
Yeah, it was. I think it was a good choice.
Yeah, definitely. So Ansel and Briar, you guys are checking out these levers, which it takes some effort, but you're able to pull them down. And if you do so, there's just this, and the light inside these columns dims and goes out. You see the Astra no longer spiraling inside of it. And as soon as you do that, the roots kind of holding this thing kind of start to sort of tighten and wither and crack, like almost like a tree dying, but like accelerated super fast. You see the bark sort of cracking and falling away. You see these things just drying out, like there's no water almost. And if you do this with all of the levers, eventually all of the roots sort of die and fall away, turning to ash. And they kind of shrink back towards this cylinder. And as they're doing so, the ship kind of stabilizes. You feel that it's not shuddering, it's not groaning, it's not grating. And if you peer out the window, you can see that you're no longer zooming as fast. The stars are not flying by at quite the speed that they were. Clearly, the ship is no longer tainted by this presence. The cylinder remains there, however. The lights are dimly glowing now. It seems to be not yet fully disabled.
As these roots shrink back, again, Ansel can't tell if he's just building this weird narrative in his own head or if he can actually see. But again, there's this flash of the skull-masked woman where that slight smirk has kind of turned into the slightest of frowns. And it's like this weird situation where he's probably just like imagining this situation that's not happening, but something about it just feels a tiny bit too real. But he shakes it from his head, and he's actually going to go over towards Randall. He holds like a hand out and then realizes that it's the wrong hand, that he doesn't have that arm to grab it anymore. I'll kind of like, oh, sorry, and reach down with the other hand. I don't know if that was brave or stupid or both. Did a damn good job there.
And I think probably the most heartbreaking part about all of it is that Randall's wanted to hear that for a long time, but I think he's in shock. And so it doesn't even register. Like, he's longed for that. And he's just like you could have said anything. You could have said the opposite. Probably same effect.
As the four of you... Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, there's probably just this moment where Ansel will just kind of like look down and then just kind of like pat Randall on the shoulder. It'll be okay. It'll take a little bit to and just kind of the moment kind of fades as he realizes that this, like, the one time that he goes out of his way to like kind of open up and like compliment this person, like, it's clear that it's just fallen on tortured ears at the moment. He'll just kind of like shrug it off and just like, yeah, try to play the cool guy as if he didn't just do that, and turn back towards the cylinder to check it out.
As the four of you are standing here in the Astrogen room, your whisper links click on, and you hear a voice. This is Lady Anwen Inuwa calling on open whisperlink channels. Is there someone out there? What happened? Everything seems to be under our control once again.
We think we found what was causing it. It should be dealt with for now, but there's some strange... You guys should come take a look. We're in the Astra generator room.
Who is this? State your name.
And like normally he would like think of some clever like disguise name to say to like this random stranger, but he's like so caught up in the moment of everything that he'll just honestly say, Ansel. Ansel.
Ansel, you came in with the Nomad.
Yes.
We're on our way. We're free now. We'll be mopping up this rebellion shortly. Stay put. And the four of you standing here, well, floating there, suddenly the gravity turns back on. And you all just kind of collapse to the grating. And this hulking barrowmech that you've killed sort of falls to the grating as well. And as you kind of get up and rub bruises now that you have, you see out the window the Nomad. And it flies close to the last breath. And you hear over the whisperlink Sigma's voice. It seems everything is back to normal. I'll be docking to pick you up shortly. Is everyone okay?
We're all alive.
And Briar would say, "It's great to hear from you, Sigma." And then it would immediately occur to him and he would reach out to Kai over Whisperlink. I don't know how you want to handle that, but I imagine Kai didn't die off screen.
No.
Hey,
Yeah,
is
no,
Lloyd
she's,
here in spirit? If Lloyd's here in spirit, who knows?
she's dead. She lost her. She got decapitated. So I don't know. I rolled on the
Sorry.
lingering. Yeah.
On the lingering injuries.
And
No,
you lost your head. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh, that's too bad. You would hear, after a short moment of static, you would hear from Kai as she says, "It's good to hear from you. A lot's been happening. Let's meet up and swap stories." And I think that is where we'll end our session for tonight.
Nice. Jeez.
So good job, everybody. I threw a lot at you. That barrowmech that you fought was a scaled down CR5, and I really didn't scale it down all that much. So you guys did a good job.
Yeah.
I dropped its HP and its AC a little bit, but it was still doing CR5 damage. So
that's the thing. The damage is what did it. Yeah, that one what was it, like minigun thing at the beginning?
Yeah.
Knocks out like half of our health.
That more than half health me in one hit.
Yeah, that was rough.
Yeah, it does. It's a heavy repeater arm. It can target a 10-foot cube area within 60 feet, and each creature in that area has to succeed on a dex save or take 2d8 piercing damage.
And yeah, that was us with no pulsers.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. And low grav. Yeah. So I threw a lot at you guys tonight, and it was so fun. You guys were so clever, worked well as a team, really cool role play moments. I think this was my favorite session so far of Nomad, and I'm really bummed that Lloyd wasn't here to enjoy Tim getting his arm lopped off by a giant robot. So
yeah, no kidding, right?
Yeah. So I'm going to throw it over to these guys to do their outros, and we're hopefully going to be doing another session of this very soon, way sooner than last time, because I'm not planning on having any more kids anytime soon. So let's go from my left to right and start with James.
Hey guys, I am James from Tabletop Terrors. This was so much fun. Thank you everybody for joining us. It was fun to get to know my character again, and like you said, Harbinger is just so much fun. I love space. Like, I don't know, this really got me back into it. Like you said, last session we didn't have any combat, but it was a lot of fun. But it was really cool to experience the low grav. We didn't do low oxygen, which I was very happy, honestly. We didn't have to also deal with that. But
yeah, I had an encounter plan that was going to be low oxygen, but we ended up not doing it.
Yeah, good news. We were like, yeah, no thanks to that. So yeah, but overall it was really fun, and it's so much fun to play in campaigns where you lose your weapons and you care about your ship and stuff like that. So it was really awesome.
Awesome, man. Yeah, I had an encounter plan between. I was going to have you guys have to go through a hallway that had been blown open by an explosion that had barrowmechs on the other side of it, and it was going to be low oxygen and stuff. But I ended up cutting it because I was like, we're running a little long, and I still want to fight this giant thing. So maybe some point later on. Jeff, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm Jeff from YouTube channel Encounterbalance. You can check out my stuff there if you're so inclined. Yeah, it's super good to be back. It's definitely missed it. There's some flavor that Harbinger hits that like no other pure sci-fi or pure fantasy setting like hits in just the same way. So I love being a part of it. It's so cool to have kind of seen it get to where it's at now and where it's going. Definitely happy to be back to this. So awesome campaign, awesome system, awesome players. Can't wait to see again, hopefully sooner rather than later next time, hopefully with Kai back here as well.
Definitely, man. And that means a lot to hear that it sort of scratches an itch that fantasy and sci-fi can't really do separately. So that's awesome. That's kind of what we're going for. So Barker, go ahead, man.
Hey guys, my name is Barker. I had fun again playing Kudosh, and what Jeff said, there's only one place where you can get the dark mechanical science fiction combined with like some Feywildish sort of roots that are infecting this space station that we're on. And so, yeah, I agree with you, Matt. This is my favorite of the sessions, but I have very little doubt that the next session I'll probably think the same thing. So thanks for tuning in, everyone, and thanks for running the game, Matt. This has been awesome.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Tim, go ahead.
So I am very excited to have lost an arm. It's first character limb loss or any kind of like really terrible injury ever.
The beard, bro. Come on.
Second only to Durgan's beard. And then that's the first time in campaign I've ever rolled on a lingering injuries table. And so it was kind of like a little twofer there. But I am Tim. I am half of Tabletop Terrors with James, and I am 1/4 of AbTab. And I'm just so happy that Matt wrote Harbinger. I'm just so happy that it's something that even we get to tinker around with and work on. And Matt, I cannot wait for the message that I probably will get tonight with your ideas for the necrotech graphs. And I can't wait for that, because that's just so fun to have a Google Doc open going, hey, well, what about this? And what about this? And what a fun thing. And so thank you all for tuning in. We can't wait to get necrotech graphs to you and your table. So sign up for the playtest down below. And also the spell that I'm going to call the Doty Spesh is also in this current version of the playtest. So make sure to get your copy.
Yes, the Doty Spesh is in there for sure. And hey, as a special for Black Friday, the first necrograph is on us. So definitely sign up for the Harbinger playtest and get one free prosthetic limb powered by the souls of the dead. Thanks for watching, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. Again, links down in the description to the playtest, the playtest, the playlist, and the website with a bunch of lore and stuff on it, and awesome art from our buddy Hank Renfernale over at Runhammer. So thank you for tuning in. Take care, everybody. Happy gaming all. And remember, don't go in the Harbinger, because there are monsters in there.